Hello, what's going on everyone? Happy to be here with another live stream, and we have some big problems outside. We have some chainsaws going on the whole morning really, but they come and go. So it's like every 10 minutes they'll have some chainsaws going on, and then it'll stop for like 20 minutes as they're clearing up the branches and things like that. So what we're going to do, we're going to change it up a little bit. We're going to run this Qualcomm video from IGN first, and hopefully they will go away after that, because I can actually put that video on and not have the mic going. The chainsaw is probably going to come up again. You'll hear them in a second. I think they just put it down to clear out some stuff. But let me know if the sound, the audio from my mic is okay. And let me know in the chat, how is everybody doing? We had a great stream last week where we talked a lot of stuff. So I was really happy that the chat was going well there. And that's how to keep a live stream entertaining, if you guys put something in the chat. So please, say hello in the chat if you can. So big show today. I'll just cover what we're going to go through the show. We're going to move that Qualcomm handheld stuff forward, and then I'll play that video, and then hopefully the chainsaw people will go away after that. So we've got a big show. We're going to talk about Nvidia RG552 Price. There was a price that was released yesterday, and pretty exciting stuff. The price, well, we'll definitely talk about that when we get to it. We also want to talk about Halo. Now, I'm not actually playing Halo multiplayer at the moment. I'm just wondering if you guys are playing Halo. I will probably play the single player at least a little bit just to see how it's going. You can hear the chainsaw now. And so, yeah, we'll talk more about Halo when we get to it. Also going to talk about Nvidia RTX 3050 and the RTX 2060, 12 gigabytes. And of course, we're going to talk about that Qualcomm handheld to start with. So let me play that for you now so that we don't have to hear the background noise. Now, if I can find this. Okay, here we go. Okay, let me click on that. So I'm going to turn off my mic, and then
between the new Switch OLED model and the announcement of the forthcoming Steam Deck, not to mention myriad ways to play games via the cloud on any phone or tablet. Now Qualcomm, the chip maker behind the Snapdragon processors found inside of most high-end smartphones, has declared its intention to get into the gaming space. Its first foray is the G3X, a high-end mobile processor designed for gaming. But Qualcomm knew that a chip alone wasn't enough to turn heads, so it teamed up with Razer to build a device that can showcase it. This is the Snapdragon G3X Gen 1 Developer Kit, a handheld mobile gaming device that Qualcomm hopes will be the start of an entirely new platform. It has a 6.65-inch FHD Plus 120Hz OLED display, haptic feedback, active cooling, and of course a standard set of thumbsticks, buttons, and triggers. Inside of it is the aforementioned Snapdragon G3X chip, which has an 8-core processor and 6 GB of RAM, running an Android-based operating system. Now, to be clear, this isn't yet a consumer product that you'll be able to find on store shelves this Christmas. It's a developer kit that Qualcomm hopes will inspire both game developers and hardware manufacturers to expand mobile gaming as we know it. I had the chance to go hands-on with the G3X and play through a handful of gaming scenarios, and came away not necessarily impressed, but definitely intrigued. Size-wise, the G3X is a little bit larger than a Nintendo Switch, but smaller than a Steam Deck. The buttons, triggers, and thumbsticks all feel fairly similar to those found on the Razer Kishi phone controller attachment, though Razer told me they're not the exact same parts. The face buttons are serviceable if a little bit spongy, but the triggers feel very squishy and lack clickiness. That said, the G3X's controller grips are much more substantial than Switch Joy-Cons or the even smaller Kishi grips, which was definitely more comfortable in my adult-sized hands. I played 3 games during my time with the G3X. A sci-fi racer Redout played via Steam in-home streaming, Minecraft Dungeons played via Xbox Cloud streaming, and an aerial combat tech demo running natively on the device. Redout and Minecraft Dungeons both played relatively smoothly, save for a few hitches and some graphical artifacting that could be attributed to streaming. The aerial combat demo also played smoothly, but I gotta say I wasn't really blown away by the visuals. These 3 scenarios intended to show the various use cases for the G3X. That is, a single device that can serve as an all-in-one conduit to a variety of different platforms. But more than that, it's a proof of concept for game makers to give them a sense of device that's maybe worth developing for. Of course, there's already a plethora of games available for Android devices, but many of them are designed for the vertical portrait orientation or for touch controls. This device, on the other hand, is intended to serve the more traditional landscape orientation with a physical controller-based gaming experience. There are some games like that on Android already, and the G3X has a built-in touch mapping system that should allow most games that don't have native controller support to still work. The G3X Developer Kit is also an invitation to hardware manufacturers to develop similar devices. As I said before, this developer kit isn't a product you'll be able to buy, at least not now and in its exact current form. It's possible that Razer will release something similar to it in the future, as could other manufacturers like Asus, Acer, or any of the other many companies making gaming hardware today. All of that said, I have to say I'm skeptical about where a device like this will fit into the current gaming landscape, particularly when it comes to price. A robust set of controllers to play cloud streaming games is certainly nicer than the current solution of phone clips or controller attachments, but I can't imagine that a lot of people will be willing to pay very much for a pure cloud streaming receiver, not to mention one that puts the stability of your platform in the hands of cloud streaming services. The other option is, of course, games that run natively on Android devices, of which there are some. Genshin Impact, Pokemon Unite, and the upcoming Diablo Immortal come to mind as recent standouts, as well as a growing stable of ports like Fortnite, Stardew Valley, and Dead Cells. But the overall library pales in comparison to Switch or PC. Given that, I wouldn't want to pay more for this than I would for a Switch or a Steam Deck. This leaves things up to developers, which again really is why this developer kit exists in the first place. Qualcomm says that the G3X chip is more powerful than its top-end mobile processors on the market right now, which is certainly impressive. That puts it head and shoulders above the Switch's now ancient Tegra X1, and potentially in the realm of Steam Deck's custom AMD APU, though we won't know for sure until Qualcomm releases the chip's full specs. Either way, Qualcomm's hope is that the existence of powerful mobile hardware like this will incentivize developers to design with this platform in mind, or at least port their existing games to it. Of course, there are Android handhelds on the market already. Beyond the controller attachment options like the Razer Kishi and the Backbone One, there are gaming phones like the Asus ROG phone and its slew of gaming accessories, as well as all-in-one devices like the Ein Odin, a $200 Indiegogo product with a Snapdragon 888 processor and a Switch-like design. None of these devices have found a significant foothold in the market though, at least not compared to the massively successful Switch. It will be interesting to see how that changes if and when major hardware manufacturers start launching G3X powered devices. We'll be following the G3X in the coming months to see how things shake out. For that and everything else gaming, keep it right here on IGN.
Okay, I'm back, and I think the workers have gone away. Now, I got to say, Bo Moore, the guy who was presenting this, he didn't look that happy doing this video. I don't know about you guys, he didn't seem that excited. Well, look, I'm excited for the chip. I'm excited that there's more processors coming out for this this space where it is obviously growing. We're seeing it with the Steam Deck. We're seeing it with all of these little devices like the RG351 and the RG552. The Odin is coming into this space, Retroid. So there's a big market here, and it's clear to me, at least, you know, when I've been playing with my mobile, I just prefer physical buttons. And they're making so many of these mobile chips that, hey, you know, to get people to buy a second device, to get people to buy a second mobile chip, they can start making things like this, and people will buy all sorts of different form factors, because let's face it, like with the mobile phones, they all have the same form factor. So they can't really differentiate themselves from one another. And it just makes sense for a lot of these companies to think about making different types of phones and different types of physical controls. At least that is why I think people are so excited. The manufacturers of these devices are so excited to like bring these things to market, and that's why Snapdragon is jumping in there as well and trying to kickstart this. But I think in terms of the processor, all of the technology behind this, it is really exciting that they're going to make more of these processors do more dedicated handheld things. However, I do think that there's probably some work needed for, at least in terms of the form factor, because at least for me, I don't think this is a very aesthetically pleasing form factor compared to the other devices that are already out there as in the market at the moment. And it's not really just this manufacturer either. I actually don't know who this manufacturer is, but Snapdragon is making this as a developer kit for the time being. This is not available for the public. And so they're trying to get developers on board, and later on they'll probably produce a retail version of this in some form with the G3X chip that you just heard about. But yeah, in terms of the form factor of this, I'll give them a pass for now. Like, I'm not going to criticize this because it really is just a developer kit. We've seen lots of really weird looking developer kits in the past, like the PlayStation 5 developer kit is really weird looking, and the Oculus Rift was like this gigantic developer, big set of goggles that was a lot better once it became the retail product. So this has the potential to change anyway. So in terms of handheld, I mean, if we just talk a little bit about what it looks like, I'm not really a big fan of like things like handles. Like I get why people want them, because smaller handhelds are pretty uncomfortable. And so these type of bigger handhelds with handles, they feel better. But yeah, I almost feel like it's for another audience. There are people who don't mind whatever size it is, and there are people who really want to keep portables to a specific size. I know that there are even people who prefer like 3.5, 4-inch devices versus a much bigger screen, for example. So this is almost like, okay, I don't really mind what size screen it is. I think he said that the screen was 6.65 inch size of screen with a 120 hertz OLED. So that is pretty interesting. And it looks like it has these curved round corners on that, which I guess is very mobile-like. And yeah, I think that, at least for this, I don't think they've finalized anything anyway. So, but this really does seem like, okay, we're gonna put a really big screen on, and if we're going to make it really big, well, we're just going to make it whatever size it needs to be, handles, everything, whatever space we need, we're just going to use up whatever we need. So I think that's kind of like the design philosophy there. But let's take a quick look at this article, and I'll get to the chat in just a second. So I want to do the chat like after each article. Whereas previously I would do it in the middle of the article, and then it would kind of disrupt the flow a little bit. So I'll get to the chat in just a second. So the article here, Qualcomm and Razer develop a developer kit for next-gen mobile gaming. And I'll just read a little bit of this out. we received a few slides featuring Qualcomm's upcoming Snapdragon SoCs for 2022 products, including the G3X, which was designed specifically for a handheld gaming console. This developer kit was designed in collaboration with Razer. The device offers a 120Hz HDR OLED display and has a large 6,000 mAh battery. Judging by other slides that we received, the device will be advertised as a game streaming device, which will support Xbox Game Cloud, streaming from the local console or even a PC. So I think in the video they said that it's going to be plenty strong anyway in terms of the processor. So I think that even though they say it's a streaming device, they're kind of like wanting to sell you like, oh, hey, you can stream Cyberpunk 2077 or Microsoft Flight Simulator. They want you to be able to access everything. But I think the processor in there will still be really strong for a lot of things. So we don't exactly know what the G3X will be. I think it doesn't say right here. We'll get into that in a sec because that's pretty interesting. But even if the G3X is something like an Snapdragon 845 or 850, 860, something like that, that's going to be really strong anyways for a lot of the mobile gaming out there. You're going to be able to play a lot of the Android games that are already out there on the market. Okay, so the other thing I want to mention is that they also talked about the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 CPU, which will be their flagship CPU for next year. And it says here, the flagship Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 CPU will be 20% faster and 30% more power efficient compared to the current flagship Qualcomm SoC. The 8 Gen 1 will be manufactured using the 4nm process technology, and it will have a 4th gen Adreno GPU. Qualcomm estimates 30% higher GPU performance and 25% power savings from its new architecture. Interestingly, in Vulkan, the GPU should perform 60% faster. So 60% faster is huge. That's going to help a lot with things like PS2 emulation. And I think, knowing this and knowing PS2 emulation is coming, people are already started to be in the closed betas of the Aether SX2. That is really interesting whether you want to buy a mobile device now to play PS2 beta, the emulator in beta, or maybe you could consider waiting until this, because with Samsung bringing out their phones in March, usually around March, April sometime, and these mobile chips being 60% faster in Vulkan, you possibly have to wait maybe like 6 months or so, and then you'll get a great PS2 experience. You could buy a really cheap, you could buy a much cheaper device now, like a Poco X3 Pro for like $200, and then upgrade later down the line to get this 6 months later. And I don't think you'd be out too much for what you would be paying now. Like maybe you'll lose 10-20% of what you paid for now. But I think that could be another way to go. So let's quickly have a look at these slides. They are supposed to be blurry because they got leaked, and all of these leaked slides are blurry. But I'll just quickly go through them. There's a few interesting things here. There's a 5G modem. This is the Snapdragon G3X Handheld Developer Kit. 1080p webcam. So as you saw on the front of that device, I'll go to the next slide, there is a webcam on that. That is pretty cool, which is something I've been asking for a while, although I'm not sure about the design of that. Like it kind of looks like a bit of a boomerang type of device. So it looks like they've used up a lot of the area up the top for that camera. But I'm glad that there is a webcam there, because a lot of people are interested in streaming and playing at the same time. Kind of like what I'm doing right now. I have a camera in the corner or on me, and also there's the rest of the screen as well. Okay, let's quickly go through the last two slides. There are a few things here. There's a Cryo CPU, 20% faster, 30% power savings. Adreno GPU, 30% faster, 25% power savings. Vulkan is going to be 60% faster performance. Unreal Engine 5 VRS Pro, frame motion engine, volumetric rendering. There is an always on camera. Now, I'm not sure how you guys feel about that, but I don't really need an always on camera unless you're streaming 24 hours a day. Yeah, isn't it crazy how tech develops like that? What else? There's a better camera there called Snapdragon Sight. And that goes into more details about the camera, so we don't really need to cover that on this show, but something for you guys to be interested in. Okay, so let me know, you guys, what you think of that. It is pretty exciting that there's going to be more, I guess, more people or more companies thinking about getting into this space, which will hopefully give us more variety of consoles. It'll help develop that area faster, and hopefully we get cheaper products with more competition as well. All right, let's get to the chat because Ice White Games has been waiting. And Ice White Game says, I've been dealing with neighbors Renault terrace house and went on for 18 months. Oh my goodness. Yeah, if you work at home as well, like, because now a lot of people are at home with COVID and stuff, yeah, that could be a bit of a pain. Ice White Games, do you think Sony will ever have another go at a portable? I think not for a while, because their strategy right now, it seems like, is to combine all of their different areas. So they've kind of got rid of their mobile division, they got rid of the portable division, and they're kind of still hanging on to VR because they think it's an extension of their current main system, so they think it's okay. But even still, I think if VR doesn't go well this generation, they may also look to slowly close that division off as well and mainly focus on the games, because at the end of the day what they really care about is numbers. And the way that tech works is that if you have lots of different devices and you have your whole fan base playing lots of different devices, they're kind of all fragmented and segmented. Whereas if they're all playing on PS5, then that's going to drive all of your like YouTube algorithms, TikTok algorithms, and the more views on that, so people watch that more. That's their strategy right now. So it's hard for me to see them come back with another portable unless it's the exact same thing as the PS5. Maybe they might put out like some sort of, I don't know. I think it would be really hard to see, say, like a PS4 mini. I just can't see that happening. And we already kind of had like the PS3 and PS2 mini, which is like the PS Vita anyway. So yeah, really hard to see that. And Android gaming, they felt like they couldn't really compete with that. And it's probably true, there's like 100 million handsets, or maybe more, 1 billion handsets out there. So that's kind of hard space for them to compete in. Looks horrible. I'm assuming that you're talking about the device and not the stream. Yeah, look, personally, I don't really like the look of this. This is not my type of device that I would say, hey, this looks amazing. The devices I think look great are things like the RG351 or the RG552, that type of thing. Even the Switch Lite looks great to me. The Vita looks great to me. But once you start getting like really big and chunky and asymmetrical, then it kind of loses something there. If you throw in a Rage, CP2077 still unfinished and now new DLC. Yeah, don't expect developers to work like the game players want them to. Like, game players want them to fix everything, but game developers are thinking about it from a money perspective, so they'll work on things that will bring the most profit. So if fixing the game brings the most profits, they'll do that. If they think DLC brings in the most profits, they'll do that. So it is what it is. If you throw in a Rage quit, does it come back to you like a boomerang? I work nights. Vita was fun, just no games. Well, look, I'll let you on a little secret. Yeah, I have about 80 Vita games, and for a time, that was my main system. For about 2 or 3 years, the Vita was my main system. Absolutely loved the thing. It was almost the perfect handheld. Every time I picked it up, I just felt like it was just the perfect device. Screen size, buttons, form factor. It was just a pleasure to just pick it up and enjoy the hand. I know a lot of people, when they pick up a handheld, they feel great playing it. And that's part of the experience for me with a handheld and playing Vita. And so there was just so many games there. At times, I almost felt like, hey, I could play this on the PS4 or the PC, but I could also play it on the Vita. Things like Spelunky, for example. So I really enjoyed that a lot. Okay, time to move on. The other big story of the day is, of course, before I get to the main story, let me quickly just tell you about my last video, which is the X18S, the PowerKitty X18S is better than you think. And I'm pretty pleased that a lot of people have started to watch this now. So 700 views in the last day or so. And I'm really excited about this video. Make sure you go and check this out if you haven't already, even if you don't have an X18S. And I wasn't really sure whether to put the X18S in the title, because I'm sure you guys are probably sick of hearing about the X18S. And I've done a lot of videos on the X18S, like the last 5. I've probably driven a lot of people away, to be honest. But you know, once I started it, I felt like I had to keep going and do the proper analysis with it, which is why I went through the systems. And at the end of it, with the GameCube video, I know that with the Nintendo 64 video, people were asking, hey, you're doing it wrong. You need to change the settings. Well, I wouldn't say I was doing it wrong. I just did it on the default settings, which I stated in the video. And default settings is important, I think, because a lot of people are going to boot that up and just, you know, play it. And that's the experience that they get. So a lot of people are going to do that. But with GameCube, because 50% of the library played, I figured, okay, I need to go back and just check some of these games again. Just check and see like if it can be improved, like just by adjusting the settings. And I was really surprised by what I found. A lot of these games actually work okay, not great, but pretty well. Like we're talking 30 FPS type of thing. And I think it's way better than what they were playing before, which is pretty exciting stuff, because as I show you in the video, Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance is literally just crawling. And if you just turn a few things on, change the emulator clock speed, you could get this to run really well, 30 FPS. So make sure to go and check that video out. I probably talked enough about that. But yeah, one more thing is that even though it's got the X18S on the thumbnail, you can probably try this with your RetroPocket 2 Plus, which has a very similar processor, the T310, and also the RG552. Once that gets released, that's going to have a weaker processor, but you might be able to get some things running where you couldn't run it before. So you might be surprised. I think maybe the RG552 might be able to play some GameCube games. And go back, once you get your RG552, go back and check this video and then see if you can adjust some settings there. Okay, let's talk about the big story of the day, which is Anbernic. Let me play this promo clip for you. So this promo clip got released a couple of days ago, and then we'll talk about the price. Yeah, let me adjust something. All right, I'm back. I think. Okay. So that is the RG552, and I'm sure that would have sold a few more systems, being that sizzle reel was pretty nice. But I think we've covered a lot of this stuff before. I made 3 videos, well 2.5 videos on the RG552. One was like a retro handheld guide. And we went through a lot of all of these spec points we kind of knew already. The fact that it had the 5.3 touchscreen, the Android and Linux system. So Linux, maybe you can run Arc OS or another type of custom firmware that you like, and that's gonna be really cool, especially for a lot of the lower end stuff. I think with Android, you're probably better off playing that PPSSPP on Android. I think that's going to work great for this. Essentially, this is going to be your PSP device, a brand new PSP device, and you might be able to run things at like 2x resolution, which is going to look great. Trust me. There isn't really that much of a difference between running something at 2x and 3x. So 2x, that's going to be fine. Even at 1x, this is going to look nice because it's a smaller size screen. So as long as it runs PSP nice, I think, yeah, this could be the premium PSP option for those who love PSP. And, you know, as much as I like to say that the PowerKitty X18S, the main reason to get that is PSP, well, this just seems more like a PSP type of device than that clamshell X18S. The X18S is great, but you know, this will give you more of that PSP experience. What else is here? So we've covered all of this stuff before. This has the Rockchip 3399, which has a 1.8 gigahertz processor. Now this is a older chip. This is a chip from 2016. So honestly, I don't really know how this is going to go. I don't really know how, in terms of performance, that's going to be really interesting. This is a 4 or 5 year old chip, and you know, it's Rockchip from ages ago. This is their first flagship processor. So it'd be really interesting to see how this goes 5 years later. Whoops. Okay, so I think you've seen all of this. There's a 6,000 milliamp hour battery. Okay, and there's an HDMI out port, I believe. I'm pretty sure that's going to be HDMI. It looks like a mini HDMI. Okay, so let's talk about the price. We're going to go to, this is a tweet from Retro Dodo, and they're pointing to DroidX. DroidX is a reseller in the UK. And so the price is right here. I don't know if you can see that. It says £185. So 185 pounds. Let me break it down for you. This is $245 US for the RG552. Now, you know, before I was actually on the podcast, the BRB Gaming Podcast, and right from the start of that podcast, we were talking about how expensive the RG552 was. I'm pretty sure that's what we were talking about. And I think we're talking about the fact that it could well be $300. And if you ship this to the US, I didn't actually calculate exactly what the shipping would be, but it'd probably be like, you know, 10, 15 pounds. Yeah, you're looking at close to $300. So that rumor, although rumors, you know, it could be or couldn't be true, this one turned out pretty close. So that was pretty surprising. Now, 185 pounds doesn't mean that it's going to be 250 US. Specifically, I'm still waiting on Ambernick and their official store to see what the price is there. And I'm still hoping that it's going to be like 180 US dollars. But I'm not positive that it's going to be. I think it could be like 200 plus. And the reason is because most of these resellers, I don't think they're going to price gouge. I don't think they're going to price gouge people. It's going to be more or less pretty roughly about the same, because if they set the price too high, I don't think people are going to come back next time. So I don't think Droid X is going to just set a way higher price than other resellers or Ambinic. I think they already know what Ambinic is going to set it at. And so, yeah. And the other thing is that this is a pre-order as well. And if people pre-order this at £185 and 5 days later Ambinic comes out on their official store and does it for like 150 US, well then I think people are going to be pretty pissed off at Droid X. I think this price is going to be pretty close to what we're going to get. So this is, we're looking at like 220 US, something like that, give or take, I don't know, 10, 20 bucks. Which is really surprising because the RG351 MP was $150 already. The RG351P, when it first came out, I believe it was like 100, could possibly be 120, but I purchased mine at about $85 to $90. So that's a huge jump up from pretty much their last flagship handheld. That's a jump up of $120 just to play PSP, and of course it's got a bigger screen as well. So the rumors about this being very expensive are true. I don't know how much more expensive, like I don't know if it's going to be over 300, but yeah, I think people should expect that it's going to be like £180. I don't think Droid X is going to charge way more than Ambinic 5 days before Ambinic decides to like announce their product on their website. So yeah, a little bit expensive, I think. Now, for me, am I going to pick this up? Now, initially, I was going to pick up the RG552, definitely at like $150 because I figured I would use it on the channel. The channel, a lot of people have started to watch my RG552 videos, and so I figured I kind of owe it to all the people, you know, I've been getting about 20,000 views for the Ambinic videos, and that's a lot more than what I get for the Pal Kitty videos. And so I figured I kind of owed it to them to get this device and at least have a look at it. At least for $150, I thought that was a fair deal. I'm not sure about $250 though. I think $250, I'm not sure it's worth it. It's tricky for me to go and sell it as well, so that's another thing that I have to fork out $250 for. I would rather get the Retro Pocket 3 and some other device. Like if the Retro Pocket 3, I don't think that's going to be too much more than the Retro Pocket 2 Plus. The Retro Pocket 2 Plus is about $100, and then the Retro Pocket 3 is maybe it's like $130, $140, even $150. That would be okay. I just feel like $250 US, and then yeah, I think that's a little high, and I think a lot of people wouldn't be happy with that price anyways. I don't know how many people are going to buy it at $250. The other thing is, like, we've just seen the GPD XP, which is GPD's like sort of mobile gaming handheld device. I talked about that in my retro handheld video. That device went from $250, I think even up to $350 US because of resellers. So they saw that they could bump up the price a little bit, and so they sold it to the resellers for $250, and then the resellers started selling it for a higher price. But yeah, so that is the price. Let me go to the chat and see what other people are saying about this. I know you've been waiting patiently, so thank you. So Ice White Games, 80 games on the Vita. Yeah, 80 games. So I have about 50 physicals and about 30 digital. So the great thing about the Vita was that it got a lot of really cheap digital sales. So I would buy a lot of things for like $5 or that kind of price. And so I was really happy with that. The only thing is, yeah, I didn't have enough time to play all 80 games. I got a lot of games that are still sealed at the moment. I don't even know if I'm going to open them up because it's almost like, hey, I've kept them sealed for 5 years now. I don't really want to open them up anymore. So No 1454, $266 with shipping to USA for me. 266. Yeah, that's pretty expensive. So thanks for that, because I didn't actually check the shipping for this. So it's nice to know that it's like $15 or something like that for shipping. So yeah, I think, I don't know, because I think this thing is not really for GameCube. So you're really looking at PSP, Dreamcast, and Nintendo 64 that does better than the RG351 series. So you get 3 systems for this. Whether you think that is worth like an extra $150, that's up to you. Now, I'm pretty sure the build quality will be pretty nice on this. So there's that thing going for it. But, you know, I'd almost be happy to just sit out on the sidelines and wait until the Retro Pocket 3 announces its price. I believe they might garner a lot of goodwill if Retro decides to just, once they announce this, and then Retro come out with something, say like, I don't know, early next year in January, come back with their device and say it's like, hey, $150, and just undercut Ambinic. And that's going to force Ambinic to do something about this, because at $250, I don't know, I feel like there's a lot of other things that you could potentially get at that price. What else have we got here? We've got PowerKitty A20 runs most PSP for $109. So I'm still catching up on all of that. I don't actually know the processor inside the A20 at the moment. I know Taki and Retro Game Core, they've reviewed it. I wasn't overly interested in the form factor. You know, one thing that I didn't particularly like was the orientation of the buttons there. The face buttons, there's 6 of them, and they're angled in a way that is kind of like the opposite way to how I would want to hold it. So they're angled from bottom left to top right, and it should be the other way around. It should be top left to bottom right, if you catch my drift. And that is because then you can press 2 buttons at once, and that would make it easier to press 2 buttons at once, like press B and C together. Whereas now it's a bit weird to press A and B or B and C together. So A20, we'll see that actually there's a lot of handhelds with that form factor. I think Soldier Boy had something like that as well, and then Retro Pocket 1 was a bit like that. 185 squid. Wow, bot laws will help out everyone. Jim, you may be able to get a PS5. Well, we'll see about the PS5. You know, actually the number one reason for me not getting a PS5 would probably be that I have a PC right now. So, you know, the handful of PS5 exclusives are still less than what I can count on both hands. And so I don't really feel the urge to get the PS5, though I think if you don't have one of the latest systems like a PC, PS5, Xbox Series X or S, then yeah, I totally understand why you'd want to get it, because that is easily the best value that you can get, the PS5 and the Xbox Series consoles. Much better value than, say, a PC, which would cost you like $1,000. Christopher Scott, how you going? I was so excited for this product, but dang, that's out of my comfort zone to play PSP. Okay, so Christopher, don't forget there is a Retro Pocket 3. Let me just, you know, guys, you're going to have a ton of options here. I know people love Ambinic. I know I have 3 of their devices. I have 3 RG351s. But you also have something like a Retro Pocket 3. Let me play this ad. You also have something like RG3. You also have something like a Retro Pocket 3. So if you look at this, it's close. It's pretty close to an RG552, and look, I don't know if this is going to be the final form factor. This is a very early engineering drawing. They even have the select start buttons on the top, which I don't know. I hope that doesn't make it to the final design, but either way, I think that is pretty close. Like, do you want to like just grab this instead for $150 with basically the same processor and doing almost the same games? I think, you know, that's kind of like what I'm looking at. Because for me, even though I could get all of these devices, I don't really want to pay $250 to get the RG552. Honestly, I don't know. I'm gonna say it now. I probably won't get it if it's over 200, and it looks like it's probably going to be over 200, which is a shame because I did some videos on the RG552 and they did really well. I wanted to like, you know, review the unit, but I'd rather get this, to be honest. I'd rather point people to something like this if this ends up being $150 and does everything that the Ambinic device does. Okay, so where are we here? Phil, I never knew how lucky I am having a modded PSP. Yep, the PSP is still pretty good. I feel like it's a little bit older now because there's a UMD drive. You're still running with like memory cards and things like that. So it will be cool to have a more updated device like a RG552 or the Retro Pocket 3. All your ROMs are going to be in there. You know, just rip all of your UMDs, put it all onto like one device like this, and it'll be. And the other thing is like the PSP screen is from a long time ago. So you're talking about a screen that is 15 years old. Last time I looked at my PSP screen was a couple of years ago, and I felt like that was quite washed out anyways. So while it's cool to like play on the original hardware, a lot of the times you're going to get a much better experience with all of the latest hardware. I found this like when I was playing with my RG351 is that the screen is just way better than your Game Boy Advance. The Game Boy Advance screen is just totally not worth anybody's time, especially if you got one of the early ones like I did. I had the very original Game Boy Advance, and even back then I recalled that it was hard to actually see the screen. And that's a long time ago, and our screen is a lot better. Even if you were to, you know, upgrade your screen into that Game Boy Advance, I just feel like if you bought a RG351, that would be a much better experience while you're playing your games. All right, so where are we? Folks are buying it according to the pop-ups on their sites. Oh yeah. Hey, you know, I've always wondered about those pop-ups, whether they're really legit or not. Because if I was somebody who was making a site, like if I was business oriented, like business people are, like I wouldn't do it personally, but I'm sure there'd be business people who are thinking, hey, we're just going to have this thing pop up all the time telling people that other people bought it when they're probably just making shit up. You know what I mean? Yeah, so I don't know if you can trust that, but yeah, I do believe people are buying the RG552 on the DroidX site because it's pretty much the first site in the world where it's available. Have you seen the Razer Snapdragon G3X? We just talked about this, so you're going to have to go and rewind this live stream and go back to it about 20 minutes. So we've already talked about the G3X today. I should probably put that in the title as well, so that when people come and watch this, they'll know that it's about the G3X. CapMax Gaming, how you going? Good to see you back. Oh yeah, I guess it does do the exchange rate automatically. The PS5 rocks. So you have a PS5. Ice White Games, do you have a PS5? Yes, you do want them all. Phil, you can mod the PSP a lot if you don't like the specs, but it isn't for everyone. I've got the PSP still in its original form. I think I put Homebrew on it, or I jailbroke it. But I still have all of my UMDs for it. I got like about 20 UMDs, like PSP games. So I just saw Jim Business. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I still love the PSP. I just don't play it as much anymore. I've been playing it on the PSP, the Palkity X18S, a little bit anyways, in between all the testing that I've done. So that's been a great experience, and I think that's actually better than the PSP, the original PSP. Just my take on it. Obviously, I know a lot of people like playing on the original. I do as well. But seeing the X18S play some of those PSP games totally differently now, like it just looks like HD remasters. That kind of blew me away. So that's why these devices are really exciting. You're taking all of these old games and you're bringing them up and putting them on better hardware. Going to be a wild time once we've got one of these things running Vita ROMs. Oh yeah, definitely. Well, you know, the other thing is that a lot of these Vita games are now on Steam. So I remember because I wanted to buy a GPT Win 2, and at the time there are a lot of these Vita games going to Steam. So I was like, okay, if I buy a GPT Win 2, that's going to be my new Vita. That's going to be my Vita 2. And so I started buying a lot of these games that just got ported over to Steam. These were Vita games. I bought a lot of those. I bought a GPT Win 2, and then somehow I didn't really like the Win 2. I ended up selling the Win 2. And so you do have a lot of these Vita games, and it's already on Steam. And what's going to happen is that, you're going to get a Steam Deck. So that's going to be your next Vita, basically. All right, so we're going to move on. I've got a couple of news stories here that I wanted to show you guys. And I didn't put this in the title because there's just no room. But we'll go over this pretty quickly. This is Good Old Games. And Good Old Games, as you know, they have their own store, kind of like Epic Games and Steam. Obviously not as big as Steam. But at one point, it was really exciting, Good Old Games, because it was DRM free. And so I don't know if you guys tried this before, but you can buy a game, then you download it, and then you could move that around anywhere. So like you could put that on a USB stick, for example, and put it on another computer as well. So you could do whatever you wanted with that. And that was super cool. And that actually helped me a lot with testing as well. When I did my Steam Deck testing, I was able to move it around to different locations on my hard drive, on my SSD, that type of thing. And I didn't run into any troubles. But if I do that with, say, like a Microsoft Store game, oh my goodness, it's just a massive headache. So lots of advantages to having DRM free. Now, PC Gamer has an article. They said they're actually losing money from the store, which brings up a big point, like the way that our industry is changing right now. And I think Good Old Games really has to focus on something else rather than this DRM-free philosophy. But we'll go through the article first. So the article states, Good Old Games recommits to DRM-free philosophy as it struggles to stop bleeding money. So their store is losing money, and they're saying, look guys, we really need to focus in on DRM-free as our philosophy, and hopefully that's going to bring customers back. Personally for me, I don't really know if that's going to work. I think the industry is kind of starting to move on a little bit. So here we've got, I'll just read a little bit of this article out. It says here, an interesting detail revealed in CD Projekt's most recent financial report is that while the company overall continues to make a lot of money, obviously with Cyberpunk 2077, its digital storefront GOG is losing it. GOG posted a loss of 4.8 million PLN in the third quarter of 2021 and 9.2 million PLN, that's Polish zloty, I think, over the first 9 months of the year. And with competition from Steam and Epic growing more intense, CD Projekt has decided that it's time to make some changes. Okay, you know, the issue with Good Old Games isn't the fact that it's about DRM or anything like that. It's that they focus in on old games. So as soon as you put all of the old games onto the store, well, you don't really have anything left as a driver to grow your business. So for me, I'll go there. I've checked out their entire catalog. I bought all their games, and then it's not like I'm going to come back and go, maybe the 4th time, 5th time, 6th time, and go, hey, I'm going to spend even more than I did the 1st, 2nd, 3rd time around. And Steam is also finding out this is a problem as well, don't you think? Like, you can't just put a ton of games on this and then not have anything else as a driver to grow your business. And so I think this is kind of like a bit of a lip service with the DRM free philosophy, hoping to bring people who have been shopping on Steam or other stores to come back to good old games and buy their games there. Like, if you're going to buy Baldur's Gate, like the first one, they're kind of trying to tell people, hey, please buy it on good old games, don't buy it on Steam, or don't buy it on the Microsoft store. You're going to have a ton of DRM. But really, they have to start thinking about other philosophies if they want to grow the store, because you can't just rely on old games. Old games are like a fixed amount of old games. And sure, you're going to trickle in some new games, but most of the time, you're not going to be able to, show growth of like 20%, 30%, or whatever the shareholders want to show. So I think this is a problem for them. And for me, like, I would look at this, I wouldn't be that worried about it. I'd be more worried about the fact that Cyberpunk 2077 did so badly after its launch. I mean, it faked out a lot of people, myself included. I bought the game, but I also bought it because I wanted to test the GPUs that I just bought. But I think, the game, it wasn't a very good game. And if they actually made a good game, then they wouldn't be in this type of problem where they're losing money. They would be able to say, hey, yes, the good old game store is losing money, but Cyberpunk is making a ton of it. Okay, let's go to the chat and see what you guys say. Okay, so Phil says, well, I ordered a RG351V and now waiting for it. Pretty excited, not gonna lie. That is pretty exciting. I almost got a 351V, but I decided not to in the end because I already had the 351P, and I just felt like, yeah, the upgraded screen is nice, the 480 screen is nice, but I had three 351s, so I didn't want to get a 4th one. But I really wanted to, because I wanted the Game Boy form factor and just feel like what it's like to play Game Boy again. But it's okay. I kind of got past that urge to buy it, that impulse to buy it. Ice White Games, PS5 is a game changer, no pun intended. I think in terms of its price, if you can get it at $499, it's such a bargain considering what all the other prices in the PC market are at the moment. Phillips Geekery, have you tried playing Metal Slug? I did. I was sat back on my ass hard. My God, those arcade games are brutal. Yeah, it's so weird, because I grew up playing in the arcades and I didn't have a lot of money. So it wasn't like I spent a ton of money at the arcades. I went there to watch people play. And so I would ride my bike with my friend down to the arcade, and we might have like $5, which is a lot of money back then. And but games were still pretty expensive. Like, it was $1 or $2 to play. And so we'd watch people play most of the time and select very carefully, like, which one we're going to play. And we wanted to play the easiest game to prolong the amount of time that we got. It was such a waste of money, but at the time, there was nothing else like the arcades. You got to play NBA Jam, you got to play all these fighting games. And so back then, I was really big on fighting games. I was no good at it, but I really enjoyed watching a lot of other people play. But yeah, as you say, like Metal Slug, that probably wouldn't be one of the games I put money into because I knew I'd probably lose it in about a minute. So yeah, very expensive. And now it's so weird, playing all of these arcade games with unlimited credits. It almost feels like there's a challenge, but it's kind of like a false challenge because it's almost like you don't have to look after the money or look after the credit as hard because you can just press the start button and get another credit. So the feeling there is no longer the same. R. Phillips Geekery, Epic is giving away games and their Steam tough market. Great point, exactly. Everybody is doing so much to get subscribers or users. There was something, I know you guys, let me go and just, okay, so let me try and click through and get this article. I think this is really interesting. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but this is the Epic Games, the amount of money that Epic Games paid for each game and how many subscribers that they got. And it's going to be a bit hard for you guys to read this, but I'll leave a link below. But I think you can, if you go to Simon Carlis, and it'll be the 4th of May 2021, you'll be able to check this out straight away. And I'll put it into the description right now. I don't know if it's going to work and update. Maybe you'll have to refresh the page to get it. Okay, so, okay, I've saved it. So it should, that link should be there. But yeah, everyone is doing so much to get subscribers that they're paying people for unique subscribers. And so let's take the first one, Subnautica. They had 4 million entitlements, which is 4 million copies clicked on. People who press the buy button for free. They paid 1.4 million for that. But there was only 800,000 new Epic accounts. So they're paying for new Epic accounts. And it cost them $1.74 per new Epic account. So that's how they're getting people on. They're paying for this. And they're usually paying about $1. Now, what's interesting here is the most expensive is Inside and Celeste. So Inside, they paid $11 per unique user, which is crazy. Celeste, they paid $12 for each unique user. So they don't want to be doing that too much because they're not really getting enough unique users. They actually ended up paying Celeste $750,000. So it wasn't that much money, honestly, like for Epic Games. Here's $1 million to Celeste. It's not even that much. I mean, sure, Celeste is like one guy, Matt makes games, but if you're talking about 10 people working on this, it's really like not really that much. It might be like a year's salary for everyone. And after that, you've got to pay for all sorts of things like rental and computers and all sorts of other stuff. Amazon Prime gives away free games. Yeah, and then the other thing is like people are moving into streaming. Microsoft is going into Game Pass mode. And so I think the good old games model is kind of just stagnated a lot. I think they're really going to have to fix this. I think they're going to have to offer something to bring people back because it's been a while since I've gone back to good old games. All right, let's move on. I'll just quickly do these last few chats. Old games is literally zero growth market. Exactly what I was trying to say. Oh, good job there, R. Phillips. Commando and Gyros at the arcade in the 80s. Space Invader Machine at Pizza Hut Bondi Junction, 1981. Oh yeah, I played Street Fighter 2 at my milk bar, and my milk bar had an arcade machine. It was 20 cents, and so I just went nuts for a while there on that machine. Obviously, I didn't put too much money, but yeah, I enjoyed that for a little while. Okay, here's another article, and then we'll get into Halo. So Halo is next. But let's talk about this. So this is PC Gamer article. Congress is yet again trying to stop bots from buying up all the GPUs. And so they've tried this before, apparently. So the thing that I got from this is that they're going to put in laws in place so that they can, anybody that breaks this law, they're going to go after them. Now, the funny thing is they're expecting the retailer to go after them, which makes me put my hand in my head like this because I don't really think the retailers really care all that much. But let's read the article and see what they say. Automated bots that buy up online goods like graphics cards and game consoles are the target of a new bill introduced by a group of Democratic lawmakers in the US this week. The Stopping Grinch Bots Act, I can't believe it's actually called Grinch Bots, but the Stopping Grinch Bots Act aimed to rid online retailers of bots that snatch up in-demand items as soon as new stock is available, preventing regular shoppers from buying popular items and supplying scalpers with hard-to-find products to sell at absurdly high prices. So the people behind this is Paul Tonko, Richard Blumenthal, Chuck Schumer, and Ben Ray Lujan. And essentially, you know what this is about, but they're going to bring this law in. Now, it says here the bill would make it illegal under the Federal Trade Commission Act for automated programs to appear as humans and scrape online retailers of their stock of items as soon as they appear, circumventing online retailers' security systems and access control system captures and queues. If identified, bot creators would be sued by the FTC. The bill points to the 2016 Better Online Ticket Sales Act that was proposed by many of the same lawmakers and passed by Congress to stop the same thing from happening with online ticket sales. Now it says here, it's unclear how the law would be enforced. Retailers would presumably have to report suspicious behavior, and then the offending users would have to be tracked down. That might be tricky given that the users linked to the bots could be located internationally. Also, unclear is exactly what forms of automated access control circumvention will be deemed illegal. In the wake of PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S scarcity, users have made use of browser extensions and websites that periodically check for the amount of stock available. Technically, these are automated systems that give people an advantage over a regular shopper, but whether or not they are classified as a bot and therefore in violation of this potential law is vague. So it still feels like there's some way for them to go before they knuckle down and actually work this thing out from a perspective of who's responsible and who's going to go after people. And it seems as though if they're going to leave the retailers to go after these bots, there's just no chance that the retailers are going to do that. They don't really care. You're putting that responsibility into the wrong place. So this is a huge problem, and I think really the first step is to pass some sort of law like this and then to rework it. Maybe there has to be a second revision or something. But as it stands right now, it's kind of weak and flimsy, and people are still going to try to do this, but it might stop some people from using bots in general. And the thing is, like, browser extensions, the big problem is that if you are one person, I still think that the extensions is probably kind of cheating. You're jumping in line. So that makes no sense to me. So I don't think people should be able to use extensions to jump. If you found out that you're jumping in a queue, that doesn't make sense. But the other thing is that there's just so much to work through with this, right? Like, are people really supposed to just wait in line in an online or virtual line? That's really weird as well. So I'm not sure what the solution is here, but I think anybody who jumps a queue and anybody who jumps a queue and buys everything else so other people can't have it, that's the problem that they need to solve right there. And I think if you have bots and scalpers right now, it only makes it worse because that means other people see that other people are using it and then they start to use it as well. So it exacerbates everything. So yeah, that's a bit of a problem. Okay, so let me just quickly go to the chat. Okay, Grinch Act only in America. Same, but it was rebadged as Dick Smith Wizard. Oh my god, was it? My parents jibbed me. I wanted Atari. Well, yeah. Atari. That's a long time ago. So I'm from the NES era. Jim, what do you think of the new Atari console aside from the ridiculous MSRP? Well, it was kind of before my time, the Atari, so I don't have the love for it as somebody who, if you came from that generation, you would probably love the thing. Obviously, the price is a big thing because you could probably emulate Atari on anything right now. So I don't go and buy all of Nintendo's old retro stuff that they just put out, like say like the Game Boy Micro or whatever. I did buy the Zelda handheld, the little handheld, but Zelda is my favorite game. But I wouldn't go and buy all of Nintendo's, extra like retro stuff. Like the SNES Mini and the NES Mini. I wanted to, but I decided not to. I already had the Raspberry Pi anyway, so I figured that was enough. And so yeah, I think that's fine. It's probably too expensive. I forgot how much it was, but it looked pretty expensive. And it even had that wood paneling, didn't it, on that retro one. To be honest, I've lost interest in AAA, so I'm fine with my 2060. Oh, 2600. Okay, we're going to move on. We're going to talk about Halo. There's probably a lot of people waiting for Halo in here. There's 15 people here. So really exciting stuff to see you guys watching. Okay, so quickly, the first one is that the Halo Infinite campaign co-op won't be available until May 2022. And that is because they're expecting it to, they're going to release co-op with Season 2. So it says here there's a new interview with Eurogamer from the head of creative at 343 Industries, Joseph Staten. And he says the recent extension of Halo Infinite Season 1 to May 2022 means the releases of campaign co-op and Forge mode have also been pushed back from their initial announced target launch windows. So Season 1 kicks off this week after 343 released Halo Infinite's multiplayer well ahead of the game's official 8th December street date. So that was a bit of a surprise to get Halo multiplayer. I think that was a great decision because you don't want people playing multiplayer and single player at the same time. That dilutes your audience, that dilutes the word of mouth. Really smart of them to go with the multiplayer first. Although I think it makes more sense to have the single player first than the multiplayer. But either way, I think that works. 343 had intended to release a new season every 3 months, but the Season 1 Battle Pass flags that Season 1 ends in May 2022. That is a long time to go before they get co-op. I almost think that it's not something that would take them 6 months to do. It's probably something that would take a couple of months. But now they kind of want to drip feed out all the content. They can see that if they want something to last a long time, you also have to put out stuff. You have to keep your people entertained until then, and then you drop something big. And so I think they don't mind holding off on co-op until then anyway. And I don't think people really mind because they're going to be all in on the multiplayer because it seems like a lot of people are pretty excited for the multiplayer. Now, they're also expecting that Forge will be Season 3, and that's probably a year away by the looks of things. If Season 1 is 6 months, Season 2 is probably also about 6 months as well. So that's that article. Now, the thing that I really want to talk about today is... the other thing was that there was a much longer article that you guys can go and take a look at. I'm not going to talk about this, but this was the interview that Eurogamer did with Joseph Staten. And it goes into a lot of detail about design, which is really cool, and how they managed to fix a lot of the problems with Halo Infinite. So go and check that out. That was a pretty good article. I liked that a lot. Okay, so the thing that I want to talk about with you guys, let me know in the chat, are you guys playing Halo Infinite on multiplayer? Because it seems like a lot of people are, and I just wanted to know if my audience is playing Halo Infinite, and that's why I put it in the thumbnail as well. Now, me personally, I'm not playing Halo Infinite, but only because I've had such a rough time in the past playing Halo. This was a long time ago, but I don't think my skills are actually any better. So in the past, we had lots of LAN parties with Halo, and I used to invite people around to my place. I used to go over to people's houses, and we'd set up our Xboxes and play Halo on 2 TVs. We'd have like 8 people, and that was a lot of fun. And even sometimes it would get so emotional, intense, that I'd be really upset if we lost. And so I almost feel like, I really had to cool down after playing some of those matches. And so it was a lot of fun playing Halo. Not a whole lot of fun if you lose, because if people are a lot better than you, they really could school you. I think a lot of people liked it for that aspect, but for me, it was almost kind of very frustrating if you're on the losing end and people are just having fun at your expense. Which is Halo, which might be the reason why everyone likes Halo. I don't know. But then Halo 2 came out. I was big into that. I was big into the multiplayer for like a couple of weeks, but I got to a point where I couldn't advance any further, and it got really ridiculous. I think there was some sort of like scaling level type of thing where I only got to like level 7 or level 8, and then it just felt like, I couldn't get any further, which was a little bit sad because I put a lot of hours in those couple of weeks. And I don't think I would have gotten any better playing over time. If you lose a game, you lose points and you drop a level. So anyway, that's my experience with Halo. I finished Halo 1 and 2. I played about half of Halo 3, and I didn't play the other ones. I didn't have an Xbox One. Okay, so the news is that 343 responds to Halo Infinite complaints by increasing XP payout for the first 6 matches of each day. So when Halo multiplayer came out, people were complaining because the progression was really slow. Actually, that was a lot of the complaints at the start. A lot of people were complaining that you weren't getting anything for playing. And it's really weird, this concept of getting XP. Like, I know XP is for cosmetics. I don't think it's for power-ups or anything like that anymore, at least in first-person shooters, or at least in Halo. It might be in some other games. But in Halo, I think it's just for cosmetics and armor and costumes and things like that. But yeah, I guess people want more progression. They want to get their costumes and armor quicker. So the problem was that they were getting it way too slow. And so let me quickly read the article. 343 has increased Halo Infinite's XP payout for the first 6 matches of each day in response to a backlash over progression. The change goes live when Halo Infinite updates later today. 343 has faced criticism from players ever since it launched the free-to-play multiplayer portion of Halo Infinite for the slow pace of progression through the Battle Pass, which is tied to completing challenges. So yeah, people before were also complaining the fact that, hey, they weren't actually playing the game like if it was a free-for-all, they weren't killing each other. They were just going off and doing like 5 jumps in the corner or something to complete a challenge. And here, what they're doing now is that, okay, we're going to, if everyone just plays the game, we'll give you XP. And so previously, you were getting about 50 XP per match. And now this is the new system. They've got, here's the new XP gain. The first game is 300 XP. The second game is 200 XP. The third game is 200 XP. The fourth is 100. Fifth is 100. Sixth is 100. And the seventh is 50 XP. So back to that normal rate. So if you play 6 games every day, you should be able to level up. So it's about 1,000 XP to level up. So you should be able to get a new level every single day if you play 6 games, which probably might take you an hour and a half, that type of thing. And so, to be honest, like, I always feel a bit weird when they segment the audience. There are going to be people who play 5-6 hours a day, and there are going to be people who play 1 hour a day. And sure, you're giving people who play 1 hour a day a bit of a bit extra bonus. because the first couple of games you get 500 XP, and then the 7th game, people who play longer has to play 10 games to get that value. But I think the people who play that many hours don't really care because they know the system. They will always have more than a casual player. A casual player who plays like a couple of games gets 500 XP, and then the guy who plays 5-6 hours is going to get like 2,000 XP, for example. So they will always get more. So they don't really care. And then they're going to average it out, right? Like if you play 10 games, well, I'm not going to work this out, but you might get 100 XP per game, which is not bad. Even though if you play 2 games, your average is 250 XP. But I think the pros or the experts, they don't mind. They don't care about the time. They don't care about the grind, the time, and that. So I feel like they shouldn't really need to separate people out. I think the cosmetics thing is a really weird one as well. It doesn't cost anything, but it does feel like you're kind of like separating people out. I wish there was a better way to do it. I'm not exactly sure what, but yeah, just to give people more XP for like people who play more. I think people who play a lot get their enjoyment out of playing a lot anyway. So if you want to play a lot, you're going to be better than people. So from that perspective, they already get a lot anyways. I don't think you have to give them too much. At the same time, I know these companies, they're desperate for XP because they look at, say, something like Counter-Strike where it just resets all the time. Well, like the older Counter-Strike, right? They want to move on from that. They want to give people progression because they'll bring people out. So it's kind of like this necessary evil that we have to live with. So that is the Halo news. I don't think there's anything more too much to say about this. I wasn't going to do a Halo Infinite video because I haven't really done any Halo Infinite videos, but I did want to talk about this in in the live stream and just see like people in the audience, in my audience, who's actually playing Halo Infinite. So I'll probably go and play the Halo Infinite single player mode. I don't know how long I'll play, depends on how good it is, but I'll give that a go. The multiplayer, I'm probably too old to be playing that. I guess my skills are just not there anymore, or I don't think I ever had them. Okay, so we're going to take a bit of a break now. I know there's a lot of people there watching. It's just going to be a 2-minute break, so I can get a drink and I can go to the bathroom. And when I come back, we're going to talk about the RTX 3060 and the RTX 3050, I should say, and the RTX 2060 12GB model. And we're also going to, if we have time, we're going to rank these racing games that I've been talking about. I think that's still in the title. But that's what we're going to do. Don't go away. I'll be right back after this short break. Okay. Let's do a little bit of a chat before we go to the RTX 3060, the 3050. Glad to see all of you guys stayed on. Sometimes when I have a break, you guys just drop out, which is fine. You can always come back and watch this. I generally leave the stream on later. Howie gets a drink in 2 minutes. He must be buzzing around like the Flash. Yep. Well, 2 minutes, you got to go. That's how long a TV break is. And I'm sure like a lot of people who are on TV, they're probably just running out there to go to the bathroom and getting a drink. But yeah, really do need a drink after talking for like 1 hour straight. Yeah, so how are we doing for time? We're hour 30. And so I'm going to try and do this in 2 hours. I don't think I'm going to. We might go a little bit over. We're going to do the racing games thing because I want to try this format out because it sounds like it's a pretty fun thing to do. There's still a lot of people there. One thing that I used to play a lot of was racing games, because racing games was always something that you'd buy for a new console, right? Like you'd always buy a Ridge Racer or that type of thing for your new console, Gran Turismo, for example. And yeah, I ended up playing a lot of racing games, partly because they're always a really nice showcase of new graphics on a system. And then the other thing was that they're kind of really easy to play, like really easy to just jump in and play for a little bit of time before, you know, sometimes you don't want like a really complex game like Dark Souls or anything like that to play. You just want to chill out and just play like an arcade racing game. So I saw this article in Eurogamer that ranked well, they didn't rank, they said they just named the top 20 racing games. And I'm like, I only played 10 of these. So I'm going to do my own tier list. So we're going to do a tier list later on today. But first, I want to talk about Nvidia RTX 3060, RTX 20. I said 3060 again. Nvidia RTX 3050 and the 3050 Ti, the RTX 2060 12 gigabytes. Now, as you know, I started my channel with a lot of PC gaming stuff, and I'm kind of like a bit everywhere, which is fine. That's just what I'm interested in. I know some people are not interested in everything like I am, and that's okay too. You can always come back and join me whenever I'm talking about the thing that you like. And, you know, at first I thought, hey, you know, these guys are just doing hardware, like say Hardware Unboxed or Jay's Two Sands, or people are just doing gaming, like ACG Gaming, you know, he does all of his reviews. So everyone's just doing a niche, and I think that's great. But I found that really hard to start with. And yeah, maybe I could have started, say, like a Yakuza channel, for example, because that was my favorite game. But I felt like if I did that, it would just take forever to get subs. So I wanted to talk about news. And so it kind of led me down to like talking about all of the hardware news stuff. That's fine, because that's what I'm excited about anyway. But yeah, why don't we talk about Nvidia new RTX cards? And I kind of got off talking about a lot of this PC stuff because it wasn't that engrossing, and you'll see why when we talk about this, because the RTX 3050 is a card that we kind of already have anyways. So I didn't want to spend an entire year talking about cars that we already had. And as you saw with like the RTX 3070 Ti, the 3080 Ti, they were kind of like in between cards. So I just felt like they weren't that exciting. Like for me, the exciting part was when they announced the 3070, 3080, 3090, you know, proper next-gen cars with new performance. And then I don't know how excited people are when they release an in-between card like a 3070 Ti, which is halfway between like a 3080 and a 3070. And it's like, well, you kind of could have had that performance anyway with the 3070. Like you're not really waiting for a card that's 5% better. It's really just Nvidia just refreshing the card. So here it is. Let me go to my browser because I'm not in my browser right now. Here we go. Phillips, so that's what I'm trying to do. We'll talk about the things that I like. Hopefully you guys can enjoy this along with, whatever channels that you enjoy out there as well. And hopefully that's going to give you a bit of a fresh take on other things. Like I want you to look at my channel and go, oh, look, I don't know about that. Let's talk about that for a little bit. If I just talk about PC stuff and I'm not excited about a 3070 Ti, then I think that's going to come through in all of the content. It'll kind of be boring content. Okay, so here it is, the RTX 3050 series. And so this is a card, or cards, because there's going to be a RTX 3050 Ti that's going to come out next year in 2022. And it says here, the RTX 3050 rumors are actually quite old at this point. AIBs were informed about this SKU in January this year, but for reasons only known to Nvidia, the series was shelved till October. Now, obviously, that is because the other cards are selling well. The 3060 is selling really well. And so they don't really want to offer you that card, really. They don't want to offer you a 3050 at, say, $500 because you could just go and get the 1070 for $500 if you really want. So they're not really offering anything. So they're waiting a lot later until they bring this out. And so this is, they want to push you towards getting one of the stronger cards. If you want a card, they're like, hey, go get the 3060, go get the 3070, go get those more expensive cards. And then this 3050, they're kind of like just going to throw it out there at the end. And so if they're not excited for it, I don't see why I have to be excited for this. But he says, so there's a bit here from Copeye7 Kimmy. He says, this is when Copeye7 Kimmy shared new information on the RTX 3050 series. He alleged that RTX 3050 Ti will feature GA106 150 GPU, whereas the RTX 3050 non-Ti would get GA107 350 GPU. So as you know, they're different SKUs. So the 3090 and 3080 is a GA102, the GA104 is the 3070, and the GA106 is the 3060. And so it looks like the RTX 3050 Ti might be a little bit of a cut down version of that 3060. And then the RTX 3050 non-Ti will be an all new GA107 SKU with a different memory bus configuration and all that sort of thing. And so let's see why this isn't that exciting, because now I'll just highlight this point. It says here, we were also told it might feature 8 gigabytes of memory. So hang on to that thought for just a second. As we were told, the GeForce RTX 3050 is to have higher performance than the GeForce GTX 1660 Super, but still lower than the RTX 2060 12 gigabytes. Now, just to tell you guys how close that is in between those two, the GTX 1660 Super is a GTX 1070. It's essentially the same thing, except the 1660 Super has 6 gigabytes of RAM. The 1070 has 8 gigabytes, a little bit slower memory bus and all that sort of thing, but essentially the same performance. And then the RTX 2060 is actually more or less about like a 1080. So you see what's going on here is that they're bringing out a 3050 that is going to be in between a 1070 and a 1080. And these cards we've had for 5 years. So if you wanted to have this performance already, you could have bought the GTX 1070 like 5 years ago for $400 or $500. But now it'll probably be about the same price. It's just called the RTX 3050. It might have some ray tracing features, some very small ray tracing features, but it's just something we've had. Like, if you're somebody who's making a computer right now and you're saying, oh, I want something like a 3050, well, just go out and get a GTX 1660 Super, and that's going to be more or less what you're going to get with a 3050. It might be like 5-6% better, but more or less you're going to be able to play roughly the same games. And yeah, so the 2060 is going to be like a 1080 basically. So as you can see here, the 2060 here is 87% of the performance of the RX 6600. That's not even the XT version, by the way. That's the RX 6600 version. And these are really cards that are mostly for 1080p. They have memory buses suited for 1080p. So when I say memory bus, we're talking about the amount of memory bandwidth they have. And I'll show you this on the next, in the next table. But yeah, the memory bandwidth is mostly suited for like 1080p gaming. And so the higher end cards like a 3070 will be more suited for like 1440p gaming, or a 3080 is more suited for 4K gaming. So they have these memory bandwidths to match. But as you can see, the lowest card that we've got right now is an RX 6600. I think it was supposed to be like about $450 MSRP, but really you're gonna have to pay like $700 to get this, which is pretty gross really when you think about it. It's kind of like say, hey, you want to play League of Legends and Dota and all of that sort of thing, and you want something from this generation, well, you're probably going to have to get a RX 6600, and it's going to cost you $700, and you're going to have to pay you know, for the rest of your computer, your motherboard, your CPU, and all of that sort of thing. Yeah, you're paying $1,200 just to get a 1080p system, which you could have bought a 1080p budget system 5 years ago for about $500-600. So times have really changed. These graphics cards are really expensive, and yet people are still buying them. And mining as well, right? Like mining, people who are miners end up buying this. So there's almost an unlimited demand out there for graphics cards, which are keeping the prices high. So that's why it's not so exciting, the RTX 3050, because it's a 1070, 1080. It's not like you're getting a 4090 and you're getting 30% more performance. And even then, when you get the 4090, it's kind of like, oh, am I going to have to pay like $2,000, $3,000 for this thing? And I don't think people are going to be able to stomach that. Maybe they did it this time because they saw that you could just mine on the card anyways, and you could get some of your money back. But I don't know if people want to pay another $2,000 just to get that card again. And the amount of extra performance you're going to get, it really ends up only serving a few games. Like when I bought the 3070, Cyberpunk 2077 still remains like maybe the only game I really need to play, and I don't really really want to play that anyway. But that feels like the only game where I have to have that 3070, where I can't play it on my 1070, which I'm actually running on this system right now. I'm running a 1070 here. And the 1070 is just fine for like, you know, other games. I can't play at 1440p. It'll be a bit slow, but 1080p is fine. Okay, so this is the RTX 2060 12 gigabytes. And so I wanted to also bring this up because we're talking about the RTX 3050, and also there's going to be a 3050 Ti. That's going to be a little bit better than the 3050, maybe like 5-10%, but not much more than that. This is a refresh of the original 2060, because the 2060 was 6 gigabytes. And I think there are some few interesting points here that we can make about this card so that you get more idea of where this card is coming from. Why are they making a 2060 again, for example? So let's read this. As it turns out, the soon-to-be released upgraded RTX 2060 model is said to feature more than 1920 CUDA cores. The card that is now known as RTX 2060 12 gigabytes is now expected to use 2,176 CUDA cores, which is the same number as the RTX 2060 Super. Interestingly, the new SKU is to have a higher default TDP of 184 watts compared to Super's 175 watts. That might be explained by the fact that it has extra memory, because the Supers is 8 gigabytes and this one is 12. So maybe you're getting an extra 9 watts from that. Could be other things, don't know, but might be that. Which makes this new announcement even more strange. On paper, the card is expected to be just about the same as the 2060 Super, except for the memory bandwidth. The 2060 Super variant has a 256-bit bus because it's got 8 gigabytes of RAM, while the 12 gigabyte SKU is 192 bits. So that's why it has either 6 gigabytes or 12 gigabytes. Now, if you recall, the GeForce RTX 2060 Super has 8 gigabytes of memory, as you can see here, 8 gigabytes. And there was also another card previously that was on the TU106, and that was the GeForce 2070. So the GeForce RTX 2060 Super is a cut down version of the RTX 2070. The RTX 2070 is like the full TU106 or close to the full TU106, and that has like 2,300 CUDA cores. And so the GeForce RTX 2060 12 gigabytes is more or less the same card as the GeForce RTX 2060 6 gigabytes with the same memory bandwidth and the memory bus of 192 bits. However, because I guess they don't need to cut it down as much, I guess maybe they decided to offer some extra performance over that 6 gigabytes. So they've upgraded that from 1920 CUDA cores to 2176 CUDA cores. And I think you're going to expect somewhere a very close performance to that 2060 Super. The 2060 Super has 448 gigabytes per second of memory bandwidth, so a little bit higher than the 2060. But aside from that, so in terms of actual raw performance, when you're actually in game and talking about frames per second, it's going to be like, maybe like 1 or 2 extra FPS at 60 FPS. So that could be like 3 or 4% because of that memory bandwidth difference. But overall, there was like about 10-15% performance difference between that 2060 6 gigabytes and the 2060 Super. And now it's going to be a lot closer, because if you see the 1920 to 2176, that's like 10% extra CUDA cores anyways. That doesn't translate to 10% extra performance, but you will get more. You will get more performance from that. And so it's basically a refresh, give you a bit more memory as well, because 6 gigabytes is really not enough. I think this is a good card. If you're going to get either the RTX 3050 and the 2060, well, the 2060 is just going to be way better, right? You're getting close to like a 2070 almost with this 2060 Super. You're getting close to a PS5. A PS5 is kind of like a 2070. So I think this is honestly a pretty nice card. If you're going to choose between this and the 3050, I mean, obviously it's going to be reflected in the price. So if the 2060 12 gigabytes is better than the 3050, well, of course people are going to buy, of course the price of this will be higher. But if you're trying to choose between the two cards, you're not sure which one is better, well, this will probably be better. This will most definitely be better. And so it looks like it's going to be coming out December 7th, which is really soon. All right, let's take a quick look at the chat and see what we got going here. I can't read it all out this time. There's a lot here. I just upgraded to an 11400F. Cost me £500. Okay, but I think that's a pretty nice CPU. When you say just, are you talking about like right now? Or are you talking about like, say, 3 or 4 months ago when Alder Lake wasn't out? Because, well, I guess, everything is relative. So I don't know how much Alder Lake is where you are. But yeah, 11400F seems a little bit expensive. Whether that is your whole computer or just the processor. That seems a bit expensive just for your processor. And you said not F, it has the iGPU. Yeah, so it'll be 11400 then. Gaming laptop are expensive. 1080. Okay, I hit a good deal last year for $1,300 for a i7 10750H and a RTX 3070, 6 GB of RAM. Oh, that is a really good deal. And that, what brand of laptop was that? Let me know in the comments. I sold my 2070 like a fool just before the crash. Well, we've all done strange things. Walmart has a deal for an i5 and a 1650 for $500. That's pretty good. I mean, 1650 is probably a little bit lower than what I'd like for my purposes, but I think other people would like it. If you don't play any of the most demanding games on Steam, I think the 1650 could be okay. If you're playing sort of like PS4 level games, that's pretty nice. To be honest, I've lost interest in AAA, but I still feel a need for a good GPU. Is habits. Well, I feel the same way, and I would probably get one mid-tier card with next generation. So I might get like a 4070 or a 4060 or something like that. But even then, like if I have a 3070 already, maybe there's no point for me to get a 4060. Do you see how then you're kind of like just having to wait 2 generations? So it's difficult. I'm sure a lot of people are just going to upgrade every time anyway. And then obviously with mining, you can mine some of that money back. Well, it's almost like people will just buy the card anyway because you get some of that money back. But yeah, I almost feel like a lot of the games that have come out don't really use the full GPU anyway. It's just Cyberpunk 2077 that really demands it. But God of War is coming to PC soon. Well, yeah, it's true, but I think even if you wanted to, you could play it on something like, I don't know, a mid-tier, like a 2060, for example. So this 2060 would be perfectly fine for God of War. And even if you had a 1070, it'd be fine, I think. Just knock some settings down. It's going to look way better than it did on PS4. The PS4 was like a 750 Ti, so it's almost like you'll be fine with anything, with any of these PS4 games. I tried mining, but it was like £1 a day. Well, it depends what GPU you have. If you have a good GPU, you wouldn't be getting £1 a day. You'd be getting more. I randomly got 30 pounds of Bitcoins a few years ago. I checked it's worth 300. Oh, well, yeah. I think a lot of people have done that. If it's same as the 2060, what's the point? Oh, it's just a refresh because the reason why they're bringing out this 2060 is because they are absolutely full, chock-a-block full in terms of production at Samsung for their 30 series cards. So they've gone back to a TSMC, and TSMC have gone, hey, we've got some extra space from people who didn't want it. Do you want to pay for it? And that's why they're making extra 20 series cards. And they've decided on the 20 series card because the 60 series are the most popular cards for them. It just seems as though, I don't know, like for the audience are always looking at the 60 series cards. They'll probably be clicking on all of these videos. People who are streaming are probably streaming on 60 series cards. They probably get recommended by 60 series. Even when Nvidia went out to do the reviews for the 60 series, they just gave it to streamers. They didn't even bother giving it to some of the more hardcore audience, hardcore reviewers out there. Like Greg Zalazar didn't have a 3060 card, I believe. So guys like that didn't get cards. Let me turn off my phone. And so 60 series is why they're just going to make the 60 series. They weren't going to make a 2080 or and also the 2080 and the 2080 Ti, they would probably get snatched up by miners anyways. And so they're kind of trying to look after their audience. So 60 series is the way to go for them. Plus they get to cut that up a lot more and make a lot more cards. and they don't want to go too low. Remember, they don't want to go like make 1650s and put all of those out in the market, because they want people to spend up. So 60 series is where it's at. Okay. My FPS improved a lot going from a 4690K to a 11400. So I've done the same thing. Earlier this year, I did a video on the 4690K, and yeah, it was rough on the 4690K, and a lot of frame times and a lot of bad hitching as well in all of these games, all of these newer games that really demanded extra performance. And so with the 4690K being 4 cores, it really didn't feel like it was enough. There were other games that really wanted more threads. And so I'm sure going to the 11400, you would have noticed that huge performance improvement, maybe even double the amount of frames that you're getting now. Okay, we're going to do something fun now. We've already talked about the Qualcomm. I was going to talk about this at the end of the show, but we did it at the start of the show, so we don't have to do that now. We're going to do something fun. This is called the Racing Video Games Tier List Maker. I'm sure you've all seen the tier list. And so there was a Eurogamer article about the top 20, or I think the top 20 racing games, which was this. And so I was looking at this and I was like, hey, wait a minute, I've only played half of these games. Let me do a tier list, a proper tier list for you guys. If you don't play racing games, this will be interesting to you. And if you do play racing games, well, you can argue with me what should go where. NSVG Velcro Your Bum. This is the laptop I got for $1,300. MSI GL65 Leopard. Okay. Oh, that's really cool. That is a really cool laptop. 2070. Okay, $1,300. You know, if you were to pay for a 2070, it costs you $1,000 anyway, right? Okay, so we've got a ton of racing games, and here are the rules. So I'm not going to include things that are not cars and bikes. So things that are like this speedboat, jet ski thing, or for example, where is it? Snowboarding games, right? I'm not going to include downhill races, for example. I'm not going to include futuristic races like Wipeout. I'm also not going to include anything before the PS2 era, because I didn't play the PS1 era, I didn't play the Nintendo 64 era, so I think that would be a bit unfair. And if I go back to, say, Genesis and SNES and Nintendo, well, I'm not sure if they would really compete. Well, I don't think I would put any of those up in the S1, S2, X class anyways, because I think a lot of those games, they were good games, but I just didn't feel like they were great racing games at the time. I think racing games really only got great around the PS1 era, like when we started to get Ridge Racer and that type of thing. Okay, so what else? So yeah, nothing before PS2, and just cars and bikes. Okay, so let's go with this. I'm gonna have to scroll up and down a lot. I'm sorry, guys. I thought about making my own tier list with just the select number of games. I played about 30 of these games, and I was going to do that, but I didn't have time to go through it. So we're going to have to scroll up and down a little bit to go through this. But please, if you have anything that you want to say in chat, put it in there. We're going to have a fun session where I rank all these racing games. And we might do this more often on a live stream at the end of it, just to chill out a little bit after all of the news and stuff like that. Okay, so the first game we're going to put here is Assetto Corsa. Have you guys played Assetto Corsa? And I think this is a brilliant game, and I've only played a little bit of it. Oh, the other thing is I want to say is that most of these games I played probably minimum of 10 hours at least. if not more. Most of them, way more. Most of them I finished the game, but normally if it's like under 10 hours, I'm not going to put it here because I don't think that's really that fair, because I don't really know about the game then. But Assetto Corsa, this came at a time where I had my racing wheel, and Assetto Corsa might be the best racing experience out there. I think it could go toe to toe with pretty much any racing game out there. In terms of handling anyway, it just feels amazing with a wheel. Now my wheel is a Logitech G27, so this works with I think it works with a PS3. I think that's the one it's for. I don't think it's the PS4. So it's a G27. Now I'd really want, once I go back to Australia, I really want to get another wheel, but yeah, I want to get the whole setup. I want to get like the seats, the bucket seat, the TV. I'm going to hook it up to a PC. I'm going to have 2 of these so that they're going side by side. Hopefully you'll see this on my channel in a couple of years. Hopefully, I'm really hoping that I have space for this somewhere. And my place is going to be really small as well, so it might have to go into the garage. So I might have to do some renovations on the garage to get this done. But Assetto Corsa would definitely be a game that I would play with somebody. The thing is, why I'm putting this in B class is that it has a very poor single player mode. Like, it's very boring. It was just about the most boring single player that I ever played, and so I could only stomach about 10 hours of this. I don't know what it was. I think it was because like you had to set everything yourself, and so I couldn't beat them at like 100% of its speed. So I kept just knocking it down until I could beat it, and I don't think that's the right way to play a single player game, because like it's great for handling. It feels great getting around the track, so it feels so realistic with the acceleration and the tire grip and all of that sort of thing. But if I have to adjust the AI myself to play, it kind of got no fun, because if I failed a race, then I would just go and knock down the AI rating, and so it just felt a bit weird. Okay, so that's Assetto Corsa. Okay, so I'm going to put a B class. Great handling, but just didn't do it for me in single player, so I have to put it in the middle somewhere. All right, where are we at? Ballistic Racing, Big Mania, Big Mother Trucker, Blur. Okay, Blur, I'm going to put this in C class. So I'm going to put this in C class because this is the game that killed off one of my favorite developers, Project Gotham Racing series. So I was a big fan of that series. I played all of them. And you'll see the Project Gotham Racing games higher up on this chart when I do this. And the problem with Blur was that I'm not sure what got into their minds when they developed this game. They suddenly thought that they wanted to go where Mario Kart was going and put weapons and combine that with whatever Geometry Wars was doing with like their neon glowy weapons. But yeah, I don't think it worked for a lot of people. I don't think it worked for a lot of their fan base. And I think when they saw the previews and that the environments were still the environments were actually poorer than Project Gotham Racing 4, especially the first area. I think it was like Barcelona, and how it was just all brown everywhere. I don't think that worked for a lot of people, and that's why it sold poorly. And Activision kind of saw where the industry was going, because there were a lot of companies, racing companies, were getting chopped left and right. Like Split Second, I think, left shortly after this. So a lot of people were getting rid of their track racing teams. So I think Activision probably thought, hey, that's not where it's going. And Forza Horizon is where the industry is going, and this team is not going to do open world. So, well, I mean, maybe they would have, but it probably need a bit of an overhaul in terms of technical capability. Maybe they could have. Maybe the Blur team could have done open world, but I think they decided to get rid of track racing developers, and even Drive Club, as you saw, Sony didn't hold on to them. So where are you at, Jim? I thought you were in Oz. So I'm overseas at the moment. I'm in Malaysia, but I'm looking to come back soon. We still have problems like trying to get back and that sort of thing. I've been here for a while. I've been working here. But yeah, so looking to come back to Australia sometime, hopefully next year. That's what it's looking like at the time being. Okay, so that's Blur there. I think Assetto Corsa is a better game than Blur. Okay. Next game is Burnout 2. Now, I didn't play the first Burnout. I wanted to. It just felt a little bit expensive at the time for me, so I didn't buy it. And so Burnout 2, I'm going to put in B class. So Burnout 2, I quite like the game. It's a very good game, and I covered it in one of my Pal Kitty videos. And it still plays great. It's still really fast. The game looks really good for a GameCube game. Obviously, it feels a little bit bare bones because it's a pretty early game in the generation. But overall, a lot of the concepts are still there, like, driving dangerously, driving on the opposite side of the road, and doing all of those near misses. I think it is a bit tricky to see exactly all of these cars coming at you, especially if you're driving on the wrong side of the road. So you end up hitting a lot of these cars. But overall, it is fun, and I would probably put it there. I'm pretty sure I finished this game. I don't remember because it's 20 years ago. But I'm pretty sure I finished this game. Stunt Racer, or I know Stunt Racer, I don't know Stunt Car Racer. And Stunt Car Racer is, Stunt Racer probably won't, even though I played it a lot, won't be on this because the rules are that it's going to be above PS2 or PS2 and above. So they're the rules here. It's probably a dumb rule, but there'd be too many games to go through, trust me. We'd be here all day. All right, so next game, Burnout 3 Takedown. I think you might be surprised where I'm going to put this. And maybe that is a bit controversial. Maybe that's controversial for people who play Burnout 3. Maybe people love Burnout 3. I recently put PCSX2 on my computer. I'm so looking forward to this because I want to show you guys, and I'll put this on my second channel. So if I get flamed, then it won't be as bad. But Burnout 3 Takedown was amazing up to a certain point, and I felt like I saw through how the game was made, how the sausage was made, right? If you go back to play Burnout 3, so what I noticed was that it was almost too much of an illusion of racing games. And so a lot of my critique about racing games and how I think they should be played kind of revolves around how Burnout 3 is made, or how it shouldn't be made. So Burnout 3 Takedown, if you race perfectly, the AI will always be about 4 seconds behind you. But if you race poorly, the AI will always be 4 seconds ahead of you, roughly speaking. You can go and try this out yourself. I still remember this because I was so aggrieved while I was playing and I played this on the Xbox, but I believe the PS2 version will probably be the same, is that, hey, wait a minute, why am I like busting my gut racing? And you could put the turbo on and it won't change a thing. You put the turbo on and the AI will be 4 seconds behind you. You don't put the turbo on, the AI is still 4 seconds behind you. If it's kind of like just there waiting for you to stack so that it can seem like it's a close race. Now that's really weird to how I think a racing game should work in my mind, because I grew up on arcade games where if you race poorly, you're going to finish 15th or 20th or whatever, like in Daytona, right? So that's always how I felt racing games should be. So this was really weird where I didn't have to race that well. I could just race okay. And as long as I was ahead of the AI at the end of the race, I was going to win. It doesn't always happen like that. Like, you can't just suddenly pass the AI at the end there. But if you're ahead of the AI, it doesn't really matter if you like turbo the entire race or don't turbo the entire race, because if you stack at the end, you're going to lose. So I feel like that was a bit of a problem. And once I saw that and how that was in every single race, I had to put Burnout 3 Takedown down. Burnout 3 Takedown down. I just had to put it down. I couldn't play it anymore. And the other thing that kind of bothers me a little bit is that every time I go into some sort of best races of all time thread on a forum, it will always be Burnout 3. Everybody will list Burnout 3. And I'm like, how long did you guys play this game? I know, I get it. Like, people want to play a game where they're just stacking and having a laugh and all of that and it's really fun like that. But for me, playing a racing game, like trying to do the best times around each lap, it didn't feel like this was how it was designed. So that's why it's in D class. Ice White Games says Takedown was mad. Ice White Games, go back and play Burnout 3 Takedown if you have some time. Turbo around the whole track and tell me where the AI is. All right, we're going to move on because I think I've said my piece about Burnout 3. One day I will put something up on my second channel. Now that I got PCSX2R, I'm going to I need to play a little bit of it so I can get better at it again. But I'm going to put that up and I got to show people the AI in this. By the way, the AI was made by the guy, or at least the designer was on the team. Sean Murray, who does No Man's Sky, did the same, designed Burnout 3. He was one of the designers in that. So you can see how there's a streaming technology in Burnout 3. I think that similar sort of streaming technology is in No Man's Sky. All right, here we go. I believe the next game that I played was Colin McRae Rally 2005. And we're going to put it up here. I think that's where it's going to go. I can't remember exactly. I think this is where I had it last night when I roughly did this. Colin McRae Rally 2005 is secretly a good game, you guys. So I covered this on my PowerKitty X18S. It still plays amazing on PSP. So if you have a PowerKitty X18S, this is your go-to racing rally game. I don't think there is another rally game on the PowerKitty X18S that is better, that looks better than this. You can't play Colin McRae, the PS2 versions on the PowerKitty X18S. So the next best thing is to play Colin McRae Rally 2005. And it looks really good. I think they made this after 3 and 4 anyway. So this is like a version of Colin McRae Rally 4 for the PSP. And I think eventually this also came out on PS2 anyway, because they thought, well, why not? We can just tweak a few things and just bring out another title. But what's amazing about this game is, like, if you play the PS1 versions on the 351, on the the Ampenic RG351, and then you go to this, you'll see such a huge upgrade in the graphics. And now that you're going to be able to play this at 60 FPS, you will see how beautiful this game looks. Even at 1x resolution, this game looks better than a lot of PS2 games. This looks somewhere halfway between a PS2, PS3 game, and it has a nice career mode. It's not the most creative career mode. There's a lot of nice events and things like that. There's a ton of tracks. The rallying is really good, very reminiscent of all of those past Colin McRae rally games where the tracks were really fun. So that's why it's up there, and it's kind of all alone on its lonesome. But yeah, we'll fill this up. We'll definitely be filling this up, this area up a lot. Don't worry. But that's where it goes. Colin McRae, 2005, super good game that you can play when you get your RG552, when you get your Odin. Give this a crack for sure, because I think PS2 might not be able to be played on those systems anyway. Okay, so we weren't going to put PS1 games, but Colin McRae Rally 2 would probably have gone like S1 or A class somewhere in there. Great game. Colin McRae Rally 3, I played this. So this was a bit disappointing. So Colin McRae Rally 2 would have been like A class, and Colin McRae Rally 3, I'm going to put that one step down. Now, it's been such a long time, but I believe Colin McRae Rally 3, it was kind of, they cut out a lot of things. If I recall correctly, I think you could only play with Colin McRae in the career mode. So you couldn't go any of the other drivers, which was a really weird omission. I think they said it was something to do with, oh, like we have some story here now. So it makes sense with just Colin McRae. So if you wanted to play some of your other drivers, you had to go to your single stage mode. I don't know if they had a season mode as well, where you could play a different driver. But yeah, I was a little bit bummed at that. I had this for about a week or a couple of weeks, and I played through the season or career or whatever, and then I said, okay, I don't really like this as much. I'm just going to sell it now while I can. So I only had this for a little bit. But I would put it B class, still great rally racer, but it had some shortcomings. And I don't think I picked up Colin McRae Rally 4, so I'm not going to rate that. I'm not going to rate the Crazy Taxi games because they're not really racing games. Daytona USA. Okay, well, I think you're going to be surprised where I'm going to put this. Okay, I'm going to put Daytona USA there because I just suck at it so much. Maybe it is a really good game, but there's so many things that I kind of don't really like about it. And at one point, I really wanted to get an arcade machine in my home, but then I realized, hey, wait a minute, that's going to just take up way too much space. I'm not going to do that. I'd much, excuse me, losing my voice. I'd much rather just go and make my own bucket seat racer with racing wheel and do it all custom, and then I can play whatever racing game I want rather than just have a dedicated Daytona machine. But Daytona machine, I was always out at the arcades, and I would always walk there and have a look at it, watch people play, and I always wanted to play, but it was $2, and now $2 Australian dollars was kind of a lot. I don't know how much you guys paid in the US for Daytona. I always hear you guys say quarters, so I don't know if you're actually paying quarter. Maybe you paid like 2 or 3 or 4 quarters, but it was $2 Australian dollars. So think of it as like $2 US or maybe $1.50 US. But it was just always really expensive and always really difficult for beginners to get into these type of arcade games where you have to put a ton of money in to get good. Now, I'm pretty sure I beat the easy one, and I think a couple of times I was able to get around the medium circuit, but that was about it. Like, I just felt like the handling was not really for me. It was really weird type of handling, and as soon as you had one stack, then they would kind of throttle your car really bad. Like, they would make it really hard to handle. And I don't think the Dreamcast or the Saturn versions, I didn't really play so much of those, but I think they weren't really great. Weren't as good as the arcade version. And actually, now that I think about it, I think this was before PS1 or PS2, so I technically shouldn't be putting this in, but okay, I've already talked about it, so I'm just going to leave it here. All right, we're going to keep moving on, make it nice and quick. Okay, so Dirt Rally, I'm going to put it, I think I'm going to put, I can't decide. I think I might put it here. I'm going to put it into S2 class because Dirt Rally, I think these guys are from the same Colin McRae team, and they were making a lot of dirt games. So after Colin McRae, they started to make Colin McRae Rally Dirt, and then Dirt 1, Dirt 2, Dirt 3. And it wasn't until Dirt Rally, and people were crying out for just a basic rally game, or a rally game, a dedicated rally game. They didn't want all of those fancy trucks, or what do you call those? All those other type of RC races, all those other different types of cars that you get on dirt. I think there was dedicated racing fans or rally fans that just wanted dedicated rallying, like the European style of rally. And finally we got it, and you can tell from the Dirt Rally they still went back to their roots of designing tracks properly. If you go and play any rallying game before Dirt Rally, you'll see that the track design is kind of like, if you go back and play WRC on PS2, the track design is boring. It's not like Dirt Rally where it's just constantly at you. Like, you're so engrossed by the types of different turns that you take and the amount of stress that you have to protect your car with. So Dirt Rally is really fun, where other previous rally games, they kind of just almost felt a bit pedestrian, like very boring type of track design. And so finally we got that with Dirt Rally. So I think it deserves to be in S2 class. I may move it a little bit later. It probably doesn't have... it's probably a little too hard, I think, because I never finished this game. I don't know about you guys, but Dirt Rally was brutal. And I got like halfway. I got to like level 3 or whatever it is, but then it got a bit too hard. And I was always getting spanked by the AI. Okay, so that's Dirt Rally. I didn't play enough of Dirt Rally 2, so I'm not going to put that. Drive Club. So I'm going to put Drive Club. I think it could go S2 class, but we'll put S1 class for now. I don't really... maybe it's here. We'll have to think about it. I'll put it here for the time being, and then we'll adjust it later. In SVG, we will get to Mario Kart. So Drive Club, beat the game, love it. I think it's S1 class. So we're going to put Drive Club here. Now, the reason I love the game is it looks absolutely stunning. Like, I think you recall before the game actually came out, there were all those cool GIFs of the game in rain and how it looked almost photorealistic. And when you actually finally got the game, it really looked like that. I think the only problem is that it ran at 30 FPS, and also it does get very hard at the end. The game is brutal on that final Venom. I think it's called the Venom Hot Lap, or you have to race with a Venom. And I made a video. I don't know where I put it anymore, but it did really well because it showed people how to get around the track and like what corners you have to cut and all of that sort of thing. And then it was supported really well. It had bikes, and it had more of those career challenges. So that was really cool. I think it does. It probably belongs in the S2 class, but I think in terms of my feeling right now, it probably belongs in S1 class for now. We may change this. I've forgotten exactly what I did last night. But yeah, that's where it stays for now. Okay, what else have I got here? Okay, so unfortunately, I didn't really play any Formula 1 games. So I'm sorry to all of the Formula 1 fans out there, but I didn't play any Formula 1 games. I used to be a big Formula 1 player. I used to play Grand Prix. I played Ayrton Senna on the Mega Drive. So I was really big on Formula 1. But then the PlayStation came, and I didn't really pick up any of the Formula 1 games. Okay. So, where are we now? Okay, so Forza Horizon 4, that's an easy one. That goes right up into S2 class. So, Forza Horizon 4, amazing game. To be honest, I only played about 10 hours of this, but I just ran out of time. I didn't have time to play this. I think I'm meant to put it here. In S1 class. Amazing game still. I know people will say, hey, wait a minute, Colin McRae Rally 2005. We'll adjust this at the end, but I think Forza Horizon 4 is in S1 class for the time being, because I think I had Forza Horizon 5 S2 class. Forza Horizon 4, amazing game, and I just didn't have enough time. I think my only complaint is that it sticks with a season for too long. So you're in the winter season and autumn season for a little bit too long, but it's so smooth. It's easily the best racing game that is currently out now that is not named Forza Horizon 5. So we can talk more about Forza Horizon, because the next game is obviously going to be Forza Horizon 5. I think that's how I had it. I think last night I did Forza Horizon 4 in S1 class and Forza Horizon 5 in S2 class. Oh, right. Ice White Games, Hennessy Venom Lab. That's the one. Okay. That took me like 3 hours to beat. So yeah, that was tough. Okay, so Forza Horizon 5, for me, is the easy game of the year. Like, no question. I played about 10 hours now, and so much fun. For me, I'm not the biggest open world fan. When I say that, I don't mean I dislike it. I just mean that there is a little bit of a chore in terms of having to drive from one spot to another that I don't really need. Like, I'd rather just get straight to the race. But okay, they're the type of things that you have to put up with Forza Horizon. The rest of the gameplay is great. It's so smooth, the smoothest racing game I've ever played. And I know why they do it. It's kind of like they're doing it because they want casual players to be great at the game. And that's fine, because for experienced players, you can turn all of those assists off. Like, you can turn off braking and traction control and all of those other things. You can make it manual if you wanted to, make it a little bit harder for yourself. But I play mostly on default. I play with highly skilled, which is kind of like this sort of medium to medium difficulty level. There's, I think, another 3 difficulties ahead of that. I just can't be bothered racing it at that level, because it'll take me forever to beat it, and I don't really have the time. One thing that is problematic for me, I don't know how you guys feel about this, let me know in the comments, is the rewind button. Because, you know, growing up, I never had a rewind button, and so I would just play it again. And now with Forza Horizon 5, it's almost like a cheat code with the rewind button, and I always find it difficult to stop using it. You know, once you start using it, you're like, oh, okay, well, I'll just use it again. It's not so bad, you know, if you're at the end of the race and you stuff up on the last corner, especially like if you're on one of those distance or point-to-point races. But if you're at the start of the race and you use the rewind button, then how do you not use it for the rest of the race? So I think it's a little difficult. So that's kind of like the design. That they can never take that back, right? Because once they put in a rewind, I think a lot of people will grumble if they don't have a rewind button there. So it's just part and parcel of playing Forza Horizon. So Mario Kart, MotorStorm, yes, I played MotorStorm. I played MS Pacific Rift. You'll see this on the chart. KTM Xbox in VR was so cool. I never played, what? Expo? KTM Expo? Project Cars Gym. You'll see Project Cars on the tier list. Ambinic RG351 MP has a lot of race games on it. Well, it has a lot of before PS1, well, PS1 and below games. And on this chart here, I'm not doing below PS1. I'm just going PS2 and above. PS2 was my first console when I grew up, and so that's kind of like a nice point to start with. And then I missed the PS1 generation. So that's why we don't have any PS1 games. Okay, where are we? We're going to keep going through this because we want to make it a little bit quicker. Okay, and so I apologize if I don't talk about it as much. So Forza Motorsport 2, I'm going to put B class here. Great game, great handling, just like Assetto Corsa, and kind of a boring career mode, which is a bit of a shame because I'd almost argue that the Forza Motorsport handling feels a little bit better than Gran Turismo at this particular point in time. Between Forza Motorsport 2 and GT5, I think the handling is more fun on Forza Motorsport 2. Now don't hate me, GT fans. Okay, Forza Motorsport. Is this Forza Motorsport 3? Wait, that's 1. Okay, Forza Motorsport 1, I'm going to put that there. And I can't see 3. I think this is 3. I'm pretty sure this is 3. And so, yeah, I played those 3. Great games, but just, I don't know about the career mode. I played it like 10 hours or whatever it is, and then I stopped after that. Or maybe at the time, there was just too many racing games. But that's probably what it was. So I think we're at the Gran Turismo games. So we're going to start with GT3. Now I'm going to put this... Gee, this is really tough. I think I'm going to put this in S1 class. This might be a little bit controversial because I don't think it's actually a very good game per se. Like, game design is not very good. Like, it's got okay handling and all of this sort of stuff. But my God, the graphics at the time were just amazing. I was so excited to play Gran Turismo 3 that I even remember the day it came out. Like, I rushed to Kmart to go and buy it. Okay, I think I'm still on. It's connected again. So I'll just wait a little bit. Let me answer some of these chats while we're waiting for it to reconnect. I hope it's reconnected. Forza Horizon 5 has been fun, playing it with Xbox PC. Yep, that's what I'm doing. I'm old, Jim. I'll be 44 in 15 days. Well, we're all there, more or less. Especially if you enjoy this content, right? Looking back at PS2 and PS3 stuff. Yeah, we're all that kind of age. I first found Rewind in the Formula 1 games about 5 years ago. Yeah, I remember that as well. They did Rewind on the Formula 1 games. Kind of necessary if you're going to be playing like 2 hours of Formula 1. 47 in 3 weeks. Well, congratulations, you guys. NSVG and Ice White Games. It's nice that you guys are in here. Like, I love chatting to people, that want to talk about the same sort of stuff. In 40s, feel like my 20s. Well, it's going to be like that pretty much for the rest of our lives. Okay, so let's get back to this. Gran Turismo 3, at the time, it just blew me away with the graphics. It looks so photorealistic. I know when you go back and look at it now, you wouldn't think so. I remember picking up a CD or like a demo disc of this on a magazine just because I had to watch the video. I think they didn't even have gameplay. They just had a video, and I was like, I gotta pick this up and play the video because it looked so good. So that's how good the graphics were in Gran Turismo 3. I could not believe how good the graphics were. And sure, the replay looked even better than the actual gameplay, but the gameplay was generally pretty good. Like, you looked at the other cars and everything, and it was a huge step up from the PS1. And I had Gran Turismo 2 at the time, and there was no point really to play GT2 anymore because GT3 was so good. Okay, where is GT4 going to fit? Well, I'm going to put it... It probably deserves to be in S1 class, but... yeah, well, maybe I'll put it there. So, I played GT4 less than GT3. I probably put about 20 to 30 hours into GT4, And so when you talk about in the whole scheme of things, that's like nothing. But GT3, I probably put 50, 60 hours into it. And really, I got up to like pretty much the last area of the game. I think, I did A class or whatever it is. And then there was the S class. And so I don't think I did the S. I had some opened up, but I didn't play through it. And then there was the endurance races, which I was never going to play anyway. GT4, I only played the very early part of the game with like, I only played about 20 hours of it. But I ran out of time, basically. I ran out of time with Gran Turismo 4. So I think this is probably on the same level as GT3. I still enjoyed it just as much as GT3. GT3, obviously, you had that problem where you could buy an outrageously powered car and just drive that compared to other cars that weren't nearly as high powered. And you'd just be able to lap them and it was no fun. I think that was still in GT4, if I'm not mistaken. Or at least you could like power up your car, put a lot of upgrades onto the car so that you could overpower all these other cars. I think that was still there. GT5, I'm also going to put, I might put it here. And GT5, I mean, it looks stunning. It just feels a little bit more of the same, which is also a little bit of a problem because by now you're at 5 games and you're doing the same thing again. And so I think I'm going to put A class. I would still play GT5 over the Forza games because the Forza games just feel so boring in comparison. There's something addictive about like doing it in Gran Turismo. I'm not sure what. Maybe it's like collecting all the cars, that type of thing. But I would put GT5 ahead of these. I would play GT5 first ahead of these games, even though maybe Forza probably has better handling. Okay, so where are we? Okay, Grid Autosport. I'm going to put this in A class. I don't know if you guys have played this, but man, Grid Autosport is kind of like in that Forza level where this game just feels amazing. This game and I would say it feels more amazing than the Gran Turismo games, which can sometimes feel a little bit slow and clunky, and you don't really feel like you don't feel like the handling is as good as say in Grid Autosport. Like Grid Autosport feels really smooth and the handling feels great. I guess more arcadey, sure, but it's fun to play. And I think at the end of the day, whether it's fun to play is something that matters, is the most important thing. So Grid Autosport, I put it there. The only problem I have is that I got up to a stage where I couldn't beat it. I don't know why, but I was literally, and this was with the wheel as well. So maybe there's something wrong with the wheel. I need to go back and play it with a controller. But with the wheel, I was literally going around perfect and I couldn't beat the AI. And I didn't want to lower the difficulty. So I couldn't beat it. So I left it. So that's for me, that's why I think this might have even gone higher if I was able to beat like the game. But because I couldn't beat the game, I've left it in A class. Okay, where are we? I'm not going to put GT6 and GT7 and GT Sport because, well, not GT7, but GT Sport. I didn't play those GTs enough. And this is why I really want to play PS2 emulated on an Android device somewhere, because I really need to play my PS2 Gran Turismo games. Okay, where are we? Okay, Grid, Grip, GT Legends, Horizon Chase Turbo. I'm going to put Horizon Chase Turbo in B class. I don't know if you guys played it. Really fun game. But I don't know. I feel like I don't know. Maybe it's just because it's a little bit retro-y. It's a little bit too... there's nothing making me want to play further. So I played a little bit of this. It's fine. It's fun. but we're going to put it in B class. Hot Wheels. I just bought Hot Wheels Unleashed, but I haven't played it. This one, I just bought this, but I haven't played it. I haven't played iRacing, and I will once I get my wheel. I'm not going to rate the Lego Racers, Little Big Planet Racing. Okay, so a bit of a confession. The only Mario Kart racing game that I played is, well, I played Mario Kart Wii, but not enough to really say that I love it. This is the only Mario Kart game I played, and it's going right up the top. Yeah. Jim, your PC looks like mine with 40 tabs open. Yep, I have more than that usually. I probably have about 100 tabs open. So, and also with the tabs, I finished everything there. So this is the last thing we're doing today. So anyway, Mario Kart 8, I'll almost say that this is the reason to get a Switch, although it's close to that. I would say Animal Crossing. So Animal Crossing is the best game on the Switch. Smash Brothers is probably the number 2 game. And then the third game to get for your Switch would probably be Mario Kart 8. I don't know what else people can ask for in this game. It literally has everything that you could possibly want. Maybe more races, I guess, because Smash Brothers has 100 characters. So maybe you could do more characters in Mario Kart. Although they don't really want that, which, okay. But it would be really cool because I don't really see that much difference between all the characters. Like, I don't look at the stats when I go and choose all the characters. And so I'd rather just, like, I want to choose my favorite character. Let me race a Solid Snake, for example. That'd be really cool. But it has so many tracks. I think it is up to 48 tracks. So there's 12 different cups, and then each of them has 4 tracks. And so it's 48 tracks, ton of characters. The kids love playing it. It has 200cc, 50, 100, 150, 200. It has battle mode. I don't know. There's nothing that they could put in this game that would make it any better. So that's why it's going in X class top tier. Okay. Oh, Mario Kart. Micro Machines. I played Micro Machines when I was younger. Midnight Club. Man, I think I missed the boat on Midnight Club because I remember it coming out on PS2 right at the start of the PS2's life, and I didn't buy Midnight Club. And I think because of that, because I didn't buy the first one, I didn't end up buying the others. The only Midtown Madness game I played was 3, and it's a bit clunky now. It's a bit too clunky to play now. Midtown Madness 3. I hope Microsoft take that license and redo something with it, because they should bring it back. It's a really cool license. I mean, technically, it's very open worldy, kind of like Project Gotham Racing. I think it got taken over by Project Gotham Racing. That's what happened. Because it's more or less, that city driving type of thing. Okay, MotorStorm. Let's start with the first MotorStorm. That's the easiest one. And I'm going to put it in B class. I just felt like, obviously because it's a launch game on the PS3, it didn't really do enough in terms of things that you wanted to play. There were some really cool things, like you're driving on top of a cliff, that big rock that you're driving on top, but there weren't enough tracks. The graphics were awesome, but really there's not really enough to do there to make you want to play this. And so that's where it's going. And Pacific Rift is a much better game. I'd almost put this in S1 class, but I didn't really play it enough. And so Pacific Rift, super fun game. I love the way that they have all of the different biomes now. So you had some, I think, volcano areas, some near the beach, some in the tropical area. That was really cool. It looked really good. and they improved so many things from MotorStorm. This is a legitimately good game. If you guys go back and buy games for your PS3, make sure to get MotorStorm Pacific Rift. This is the one to get. I think Apocalypse, I have it. I have Apocalypse, but I didn't play that very much. It didn't really have enough there to make me want to play it. It almost changed it into a very different type of feeling in terms of game. I think they tried to copy Split Second a little bit too much there. So I think I wasn't as excited for MotorStorm Apocalypse. But Pacific Rift really feels like they, they took the MotorStorm idea and just made it very much like, the next MotorStorm game, the sequel. Ice White Games V8 Toka was Codemasters who made McRae. Okay. I mean, yeah, I know they're both Codemasters. I don't know if it was like the same office or company. Yeah, you're probably right. It probably was. I didn't even think about it like that. NSVG, getting my Switch in a few days. Oh, awesome. Well, I really like my Switch. I have 2 Switches. And I play both of them. I don't think anyone really needs 2 Switches, but I really liked having it as like without the detachable Joy-Cons. I just felt like the detachable Joy-Cons, they were a little bit not loose, but like it felt better on the Switch Lite, like just one solid handheld. So I enjoy my Switch Lite a lot. It's a little bit smaller. I think the right screen size is the regular Switch, or even the Switch OLED, which is 7 inches now. And so I do think the 5.5 is a little bit small. Okay, let's keep going with this. We're almost there at like M, and so and we're gonna skip all these NASCAR games because I didn't play NASCAR. When I had a PC growing up, like I had the 486, I played a lot of NASCAR, but now not so much. Like I think it's a culture thing as well. Don't really see all that much NASCAR. We see more Formula One, and so that's why I don't play as much NASCAR. But it was really cool back in the day to play NASCAR, something new and exciting. Need for Speed, well, unfortunately, I didn't play any of these Need for Speed games. I apologize. I did play Need for Speed 2, and I would put Need for Speed up in S1 class. It was such a good game. I played so much of that with my brother, but we're going to do PS2 and above only. Okay, so where are we? Need for Speed. Okay, talked about Need for Speed. Okay, Onrush, Outrun. Now, they don't have an Outrun 2, but so we're going to take this Outrun 2006 and call it Outrun 2 and Outrun 2006. This is still one of the greatest arcade races. People don't know. People slept on this back in the day because people weren't interested in arcade games. But you guys go back and play Outrun 2 or Outrun 2006, and this is almost the perfect way to do a remake. As I showed on my Powkiddy X18S, this plays like a dream on these new devices, and I believe me putting it here will really, once you guys get to play this, you'll understand why it's up the top. The handling is so supremely amazing. It feels like it's being created from a guy who's kind of like thinking outside the box. You know, when you drift the car, you can somehow move it left and right while you're drifting it, which is just amazing, which doesn't seem to work from a logical point of view. But actually when you're playing in the game, it's so fun to drift your car in and out between cars as you're going around. And this is still has its roots in its arcade, but it's made for a home console feeling. So it's not like the older Outrun games where they're trying to suck quarters out of you. So there's a lot of things in this where they'll have an adventure mode. So it's just short little things, short little tests that you have to do. And that's a lot of fun to play through as well. But you can also go to the arcade mode where you know, at the end of every stage, you're trying to choose between 2 ways to go. The easy way, which is the left way, and the hard way, which is the right-hand side way. So you can still play it through like that. And also there's different ways you can play this as well, because that had 15 stages. Now you can play them through all one by one, string together in one long race. And I believe you can also play through 30 stages at once. So all of them racing forwards and then racing back as well. So I think you can also do that as well. So Outrun 2006, such an awesome game. I love it. That's why it's going up the top there. Where else are we at? Okay, Project Cars. So I only played the first Project Cars. I'm gonna put this in C class. So Project Cars. I know somebody. I think Ice White asked about this. So Project Cars didn't do it for me. I didn't really like the handling. It just felt really weird. I don't know if you played with a wheel, but there was almost no feedback on the wheel. There was a tiny bit of force feedback, which was really weird because I had Dirt Rally and I had Assetto Corsa, and Project Cars, I felt nothing going around the bends. And the graphics are really great, but the handling wasn't on Project Cars. So I was super disappointed because Assetto Corsa didn't really have a great career mode. And Dirt Rally was a rallying game, not a track racer. And Project Cars I thought was going to be the one that was going to be like Gran Turismo on the computer, on the PC, and then it wasn't. Like, there was no other option unless I wanted to go iRacing or something like that. So Project Cars, kind of disappointed with the handling there. And then that's why I haven't bought Project Cars 2 or 3. Okay. Oh, I think we skipped a few. Okay, here we go. Project Gotham Racing. We're going to go with the first one. Now, I haven't played enough of Project Gotham Racing. When I get back to Australia, I'm going to buy Project Gotham Racing somewhere, a good, nice copy of it, not some grotty version that sometimes you get like from EB Games, but hopefully somebody will still have a good version that they've kept somewhere. And I want my Project Gotham Racing back. I want this game back. This game actually allowed you to bet the amount of kudos that you wanted to spend, which was just an amazing way to play. And so if you felt that you were good on a track, you would bet more kudos to try and win more kudos. I loved that. And that was a cool way to like try and you needed a certain amount of kudos to get to the next level. So if you're good at some tracks, you could try to bet more kudos on those tracks. I really miss this game. It has so many tracks. On the back of the box, it said it had over 200 tracks, which I don't think they really did again because Project Gotham Racing 2 had about 100 tracks. Obviously, they're all variations of one another because it was just held in 4 cities. And the other thing was playing through Metropolis Street Racer is not the same thing as playing through Project Gotham Racing. This has way better graphics. In Metropolis Street Racer almost felt like a prototype compared to this, so it's a little bit more clunkier. It still kind of has the same sort of progression, but I think PGR was a really great game. So I wish I could put it higher because I'm sure I would have. Project Gotham Racing 2 is one of the best races of all time. I don't know, does anybody agree with me? I know Ice White, if you're from the Sydney area or New South Wales area, you would have loved this game. I love this game because it has Australia, it has Hong Kong, it has, I think it's Shanghai, it has Yokohama, it has Chicago, it has Washington DC, Barcelona, Stockholm. So it kind of has all of these cities that we've never ever got since then, which is so sad because I wanted Project Gotham 3 or 4 to have new cities. And Project Gotham 3, I feel like they missed the mark a bit because they went back to the Project Gotham 1 cities. I know why they did it, because there are more people living in those cities, so it's going to sell more copies. But I thought the cities that they did, they really went all out in PGR2. And so that's why it's going out in the top spot. and such a great racer. Still have my copy. I love playing Xbox Live with Project Gotham Racing 2, and it's kind of a shame that they're not around anymore. So just quickly, I'm going to put Project Gotham Racing 3 here. Really good game, looked great, but I was a little bit disappointed with the cities and stuff, so it dropped down a fair bit for me. And where's Project Gotham Racing 4? Yeah. So I'll put that in S1 class. So this is a much better game than Project Gotham Racing 3. It has another 4 or 5 cities, different cities like St. Petersburg, Macau, Shanghai. Oh, okay. So PGR 2 didn't have Shanghai, but PGR 4 did. And it had all the cities in PGR 3 at one as well. So it had 9 or 10 cities. So PGR 4 really fun. Didn't really work with the bikes. I felt like the bikes kind of got in the way a little bit there of the proper racing with the cars. But yeah, it was fine. I enjoyed the bikes on PGR 4. So I wished we could have had... I'm still looking for PGR 5, waiting for Phil Spencer to announce Project Gotham Racing 5. Phil Spencer, if you're out there and you announce Project Gotham Racing 5, I will buy an Xbox. Okay, I will buy an Xbox Series if you announce Project Gotham Racing 5. As long as it has some decent cities. Like, I love Forza Horizon, and I love all the country racing and all of that sort of thing, but I really want my city racing back. Ridge Racer 5 is a C-class racer. It's a okay racer, but I think it needed a lot more work in terms of graphics. When I bought that at launch for the PS2, and I was pretty disappointed, even though it should have given me that next-gen feeling. I don't think I got it from Ridge Racer 5. There's a lot of graphical issues. It's still okay game to play, pretty fun, but I don't even know if it was as fun as Ridge Racer 4. I didn't play Ridge 4 that much, but I don't think it was that fun. Okay, so that was 5. Let's put 6 on the board. Now 6 is secretly a very good game. And let me just do the same for 7 as well. Let me... Where the hell is... Okay. So 6 and 7 I'm going to put A class because I think it's more or less the same. Well, 7 is very much based on 6. And I kind of felt like I was doing more or less the same things in 6. At 6 I got to a point where I couldn't beat anymore, so I had to stop. But I was quite far in. I would have been like 15, 20 hours into the game. Super fun game. I love the game. More people need to play this if they slept on it. Because like the 360, people were deriding Ridge Racer 6 looking lame. It's not a lame game. This is one of the only games that play in... Well, the Ridge Racer 7 on PS3 is one of the only games that play at 1080p 60 FPS. There aren't very many games that do this. So Ridge Racer 7, still, it extends on a lot of the things in Ridge Racer 6. I do believe they had more or less the same boost system, which meant that you had to learn the tracks and know exactly when to boost, which was really a breakthrough for these type of games. Why aren't they higher? They probably could be higher, honestly. But I'm pretty sure I finished Ridge Racer 7. But if I did finish it, it was a bit short. So I don't know if it's that short because Ridge Racer 6 was really long. Yeah, so I'm going to leave it here in A class for the time being. Okay, what else have we got here? Sega GT never really played. Sega Rally didn't really play. Shocks, okay. Smuggler's Run didn't play. I played Sonic All-Stars Transform, which was really fun, but I'm not going to put it on the tier list. Spy Hunter. SSX3 would be one of the games that right at the top. Amazing game, but We're not going to put the snowboard games on. And SSX probably right up the top as well. Mario Kart, Sonic, Test Drive. Unfortunately, I didn't play any of the Test Drive games. I would have liked to. But as you can see, I probably play too many racing games anyways. Tokka, I would have really liked to play Tokka because I really enjoy Grid, so it would be nice to go back and check out Tokka. But, you know, again, too many games. Tony Hawk's Downhill Jam. You guys remember that? That was the Wii game that you play on a balance board. Trials, V-Rally. Oh, I think there was another game here that I wanted to put. I don't have too much to say about it, but I played it a lot. And it was fine. I think at the time I just preferred Colin McRae, so that's why it goes there. Rally Sport Channel. It was nice to get a really good rally game from another company. Wipeout, I didn't really play. Wipeout was just too hard for me. I just kept on crashing everywhere, so not really my type of game. WRC4. Oh boy, look. I'm sorry, but this is going there, and it could even go there technically, because I think I'm going to put it here because it's just a bad game in general. So, you know, the problem with WRC4, it got taken over by another developer, I think. So WRC1 on the PS2, all of these WRC games, well, actually, yeah, so WRC1 on the PS2 was supposedly an okay game. And then for some reason or not, WRC4, by the time they got to 4 on the PS3, they almost kind of shortcutted their way through a lot of... They must have their budget cut or something like that, because you could tell like this was just a budget game, which was a bit scary. So they paid for the license, and then it just wasn't a very good game. So for example, for a country, they would have maybe 2 full tracks, and then the other 4 or 5 tracks, they would cut bits and pieces and put it around between for the other tracks. So the other like track 3, track 4, track 5 would be kind of mashups of like bits of track 1 and track 2 kind of thing. And so I was like, hey, I was driving through this track, and I'm like, hey, I've already driven through this. This is supposed to be track 3, but I've driven on track 1. So yeah, kind of dodgy. I didn't really like it. So I almost felt like I didn't really get my money's worth there. And I didn't even pay full price. I paid like $10 or something for it. Okay, now you'll be surprised because WRC7 is surprisingly a good game. So, so this was the next game that I played in the series. I paid $1 for it on a Humble Bundle, and WRC7, great game. A much better game than the previous WRCs. I remember like looking back at WRC 5 and 6, and I was like, no way, these are still pretty bad games. Like you could tell from the previews. But WRC 7, because it was $1, I thought, okay, well, let's see if they've gotten any better. And surprisingly, this gameplay is really good on the PC. So that's why it's going A class. It's probably B class, but I'm going to put an A class because I did have a lot of fun. I didn't have any complaints with WRC 7. Now, unfortunately, WRC 9, this is funny, isn't it? Like, you've got WRC 4 in E class, WRC 7 in A class, and then WRC 9 in E class. Now, just disclaimer here, I played WRC 7 on PC and WRC 9 on Switch. And WRC 9 is not a very good game on Switch. It's just very slow. The handling is bad. The tracks are too narrow, and so you're hitting the sides all the time. You're falling off the cliff. Yeah, the handling is unresponsive, especially for the earlier cars. So that's where it's going there. It's going in WRC. WRC 9 is going in E class. And we're almost there, you know. I think we're just about there. I don't think there's any other games that I really want to put on this list. So we're going to have to go rejig it a little bit. Okay, so that's about it. So this is our final list, guys. So let me know what you think of this list. I don't know if I can just make it a bit bigger. So there is the list here. Let me take a drink while you look at that list. I thought I had more games on this. I think last night I put some PS1 games on this list as well. So I think it's probably time to just rejig it a little bit. And we went a little bit over, so we've gone 3 hours, which is, oops, my bad. So I'm only going to keep the stream on for another 5-10 minutes, so I can fix this, and then we're going to get out of here. Thank you so much for joining me today. It was really fun to do this live stream. Okay, so I think this is pretty much set. Colin McRae Rally, I would probably put this down here now. I'd probably do this. Is Drive Cup better than... why don't we rank this? So this is the best game of all time. So I would go like this. And then this would be 4. This would be... So I'm going to go like this. 4, 5. And then Colin McRae Rally. No, or I would go like that. So yeah, I would do that. And then, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So that's my top 10 right there. So if you're wondering what my top 10 racing games is, that's it right there. And then, why don't we do these as well? Gosh, this is tricky. I might go like that. I think I had more fun with Project Gotham Racing. Yep, I would leave it like that. And then that's almost almost how I would have it. Probably put that down here somewhere. I think it's better than Horizon Chase Turbo. That's more or less how it should be. Okay. Burnout 3, oh gosh. Maybe I'll just move that up. Okay, I'll save them the ignominy of E-Class. So I'll make it like this. Okay, there we go. There's all of the games ranked for you guys. So obviously number 1, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Who would have ever thought that would be my favorite racing game? But we put tons of hours into this, maybe like 50 hours with the kids playing, in multiplayer. We have 2 Switches, 2 Mario Karts, and we play 2-player, we play 3-player, we play 4-player. So much fun. Definitely, even if I think back to what have I ever had a better racing game experience? And sure, okay, this isn't like Project Gotham Racing 2 where I had amazing races. But this is just a fun game that you play with kids, and there's nothing more that I could want in Mario Kart. That's why it's there. Project Gotham Racing 2, probably the best, I won't say realistic, but kind of getting close to with realistic cars and that. Best realistic racing game out there. Outrun 2006, best arcade racing game. Forza Horizon 5, probably the best racing game in the last, 5 years. Proper racing game. Super fun. It's a game that everybody could play. Dirt Rally, one of the best rally games of all time. And actually, I would really like to play Dirt Rally 2, just never got around to it. I still want to beat Dirt Rally. And then you've got Forza Horizon 4, Drive Club, Project Gotham Racing 4. Colin McRae Rally 2005, surprisingly amazing game. Make sure to go and play that when you get your PSP emulated device. And then rounding off that S1 class is Gran Turismo 3 and Gran Turismo 4, which was such an amazing time on the PS2. Okay, so that's going to be it. I think I took too long to do that. I don't know how long that took, maybe an hour or something. We'll have to go and check back on the recording. And I don't really have any other things to say. I think the chat has gone away for a while now. So for the people who are still there, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for watching this stream. Love doing the live streams with you. And yeah, we'll be back soon with another video. So until then, we're going to say goodbye. And I will see you guys in the next video. All right, guys, take care. Take it easy. I'll see you guys later.